Chapter 1573. Gudong. He wanted to open his mouth to call for help, but the ice-cold water entered his mouth. He had no choice but to drink a large gulp, and the tears in his eyes flowed down, falling down his cheeks like crystal drops of dew. He did not believe that the young emperor would stand by when he saw that he was about to drown. He began to drink large gulps of water and slowly stopped struggling. His beautiful immortal-like figure slowly sank to the bottom of the pond, but his beautiful eyes were wide open the entire time, looking at the man on the shore without blinking. What happened? What happened? It seems like a stone fell into the pond. The eunuchs and maids who heard the commotion woke up from their dreams and ran out to take a look. What they saw was the scene of the thousand-faced young master slowly sinking into the pond. It was very beautiful. Ah! It's Miss Chan. Xiao Si quickly rushed over and saw the thousand-faced young master with a single glance. He let out a cry of surprise. Save her, quickly save her. What are you all standing there for? Mo Chuan's black-clothed figure was hidden in the shadows. The people rushing over did not notice his existence at all. All of the palace servants came to their senses and jumped into the pond like dumplings to save people. Xiao Si also jumped in without hesitation. This girl that was as beautiful as a fairy, he couldn't let her drown like this no matter what. He only had one thought in his mind, which was to look around the pond with wide open eyes. The pond was dark in the night and he reached out to grab something. Suddenly, he caught a smooth and delicate arm and grabbed it, bringing him to the surface. The thousand-faced young master drank a stomach full of water. As long as Xiao Si jumped in, he would have turned from a fake water ghost to a real water immortal. He lay on the shore and leaned against Xiao Si's body. He began to spit out the water in his stomach, cursing that Mo Chuan who didn't save him 7,000-8,000 times in his heart. Bastard! Damn! That blind man! No, he wasn't a man at all. Because there was not a single man in this world that would remain indifferent to a beauty falling into the water. There was only that monster called Mo Chuan. Miss Chan, are you feeling better? Xiao Si patted his back, helping him spit out the water. He asked with a bit of worry, feeling a bit of fear when he thought of the scene just now. If Chan really drowned and this matter reached the Empress Dowager's ears, it would be another storm. The Empress Dowager would think that the Empress couldn't tolerate this fox-like beauty, so she purposely caused her death. There were too many things like this happening in the palace, it was not strange at all. But Xiao Si believed that the Empress would not do such a thing. The thousand-faced young master finally spat out all the water he had drunk with great difficulty. He felt weak all over, as if he had a serious illness. He leaned on Xiao Si's shoulder and weakly nodded. His weak and delicate appearance made everyone present feel a sense of pity. The eunuchs all looked at Xiao Si with envy and jealousy, wishing they could be in a different place from Xiao Si and have this enchanting beauty lean on them. Good, he has been saved and there is nothing. There is nothing. Chapter 1574. The maids and eunuchs all left. The thousand-faced young master couldn't help secretly looking at where Mo Chuan had been standing, and his eyes instantly popped open in shock. Gone. The emperor that did nothing to save him had actually disappeared. He was so angry that he almost crushed his teeth. He had spent so much effort to put on this show, but it was actually a blind man lighting a lamp, a waste of effort. It didn't have any effect at all. Miss Chan, there are no outsiders here. Tell me, how did you fall into the pond? Did someone push you down? Xiao Si asked with a serious expression. The thousand-faced young master was absent-minded and didn't hear what Xiao Si said at all. He just randomly shook his head. No one pushed you. Did you fall in yourself? It's so late at night, you're not sleeping in your room. What are you doing by the pond? Xiao Si's voice became even more serious. He was not courteous just because the other party was a peerless beauty. On the contrary, he only felt that this beauty called Qian made him feel a special sense of crisis, especially when she fell into the water. Her whole body was drenched, like a lively mermaid. Xiaoxi couldn't help secretly rejoicing. It was a good thing that the emperor was sleeping with the empress and didn't see this charming mermaid. The thousand-faced young master looked up and his watery eyes filled with tears as he looked at Xiaoxi. His eyes were filled with grievance. He raised his orchid-like finger and pointed at the moon in the sky and then pointed at the clear mirror like water. Your meaning is that the moon is too beautiful and you can't sleep, so you came to the pond to admire the moon and accidentally fell into the water. Xiaoxi's heart skipped a beat when he looked at him. He actually understood what he meant. Qian nodded again and reached out to touch her wet hair. That action of touching her hair made Xiaoxi's heart beat faster. Xiaoxi quickly closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He held Qian's shoulder and said, "I'll send you back. It's not good for people to see you like this." Qian nodded and looked down, hiding the disappointment in her eyes. His act was all for nothing. That man called Mo Chuan did not take the bait. Instead, he ended up drinking a bellyful of ice-cold pond water. Achoo! Being blown by the wind, he couldn't help letting out a large sneeze. Be careful of catching a cold. Xiaoxi hesitated a bit, but he still took off his outer clothes and placed it on the thousand-faced young master. The thousand-faced young master looked at Xiaoxi with gratitude. Humph, what use was this little eunuch fawning over him? He didn't want to catch a small shrimp like him, but rather he wanted to catch his master's big fish. You fell into the water and your entire body is wet. If you go back to your room like this, you will definitely catch a cold. I'll send you to Xiao Ru's room and have her prepare a hot bath for you. It will drive away the cold and you won't get sick. Xiaoxi thought about it and then supported Qian to Xiao Ru's room. His thoughts were very simple. This girl called Qian was someone the Empress Dowager had sent over. There were so many eyes watching both inside and outside the palace. If anything happened to her, the Empress Dowager would blame this on the Guan Osprey Palace Empress. The Empress Dowager didn't like the Empress to begin with. It wouldn't be good if she used this to make things difficult for the Empress. Chapter 1575. When Qian heard that he wanted to take a bath, he couldn't help being shocked. He forcefully shook his head and stood still, not willing to go with Xiaoxi no matter what. If he took off his clothes, he would be exposed, so he couldn't take a bath no matter what. He was afraid that Xiaoxi would be suspicious, so he made a few random gestures. His meaning was that it was already so late and he shouldn't bother Xiao Ru. Xiaoxi actually understood and shook his head in disapproval. Miss Qian, you're thinking too much. That girl Xiao Ru really likes you, so she won't mind. Not to mention you're both girls, so there's nothing to be embarrassed about letting her take a bath for you. It's inconvenient for us eunuchs, but if Miss Qian doesn't mind, this Xiaoxi is also willing to help Miss bathe. The thousand-faced young master's face instantly turned red. He glared at Xiaoxi in embarrassment and anger. This little eunuch was actually trying to take advantage of him. Damn, he wouldn't have fallen for him, right? Humph, once this young master finishes his wish, the first thing I'll do is dig out your stinky brat's eyes. Xiaoxi gave a laugh. Seeing that Qian no longer objected, he walked in front of Xiao Ru's door and forcefully knocked on it. Xiao Ru, Xiao Ru. He called out several times before Xiao Ru's sleepy voice came from inside. What is it? Is the young miss calling me? She had always slept like a log, not even hearing the loud noise outside. Only when Xiaoxi forcefully knocked on the door did she wake up. She opened the door with a head of messy hair and saw Qian who looked like a drowned rat. She was instantly shocked. Qian, you. What happened to you? Why are you soaking wet? Is it raining? But why didn't I hear the sound of thunder? After she asked this, she didn't hear Qian Qian's reply. She patted her forehead and remembered. Look at me, I actually forgot that you can't talk. Xiao Si, what happened to Qian Qian? Did you bully her? She finally saw Xiao Si on the side. Xiao Si angrily rolled his eyes at her. What rain and thunder, are you a pig? Sleeping like a log, you don't even know what happened. What kind of servant are you? Ah, you dare call me a pig. Xiao Ru unhappily curled her lips. All right, I was just joking. You're Xiao Ru, how could I dare scold you? Just now, Qian Qian couldn't sleep. She got up in the middle of the night to look at the moon and accidentally fell into the pond. I'm worried that she will catch a cold when she goes back to her room. Why don't you prepare some hot water for her to take a bath to drive away the cold? Xiao Si pushed Qian in front of Xiao Ru. Xiao Ru quickly grabbed Qian Qian's hand and revealed a distressed look. Qian Qian, how could you be so careless? You fell into the water while looking at the moon, it's a good thing you're fine. Look at your hand, it's so cold. Quickly come in, I'll pour some hot water for you. Qian Qian's care, not. Xiao Qian said, Ian Qian Zhao's care. Ian Qian Xiao Qian's matter, Qian I said to her. CZ, Qian, wait here for a bit, I'll go pour some hot water for you. That's right, change my clothes first. Do you want me to help you take them off? Xiao Ru enthusiastically asked. Chapter 1576. Then wait a bit, I'll go water it. It'll be done soon. Xiao Ru quickly ran out. The thousand-faced young master grabbed the front of his clothes. Looking at Xiao Ru's leaving figure, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He really couldn't handle Xiao Ru's enthusiasm. Didn't this girl tremble like a mouse that had seen a cat when she saw him? Why was it that when he changed his clothes, this little girl was this enthusiastic towards him? It was like a dog's skin plaster, he couldn't get rid of her no matter what. He suddenly felt that something was wrong, it was very wrong. Why was it that when he dressed up as a woman, it wasn't the target he wanted to attract, but rather a woman? That emperor called Mo Chuan clearly saw him, but he just watched him fall into the water and did nothing to save him. On the contrary, his empress was very kind to him, as if she liked him very much. There was also this girl called Xiao Ru, she had too large, written on her face. What was wrong with this world? The thousand-faced young master was sitting there wondering when Xiao Ru came back. Qian, the water is ready and I've prepared all the things you need to bathe. Quickly go bathe in the next room, I'll help you over. Qian wanted to refuse, but she suddenly remembered that she was pretending to be mute. She quickly shook her head and gave a thankful gesture. Are you embarrassed? We're both girls, what is there to be embarrassed about? I can even help you wash your hair in a bit. Yeah, Qian, your hair is really good, it's so thick and dense. Xiao Ru opened her mouth and began chattering like a sparrow. The thousand-faced young master wished he could stuff her mouth with a piece of cloth. He was afraid that Xiao Ru would keep talking, so he quickly raised his hand and made a few gestures. Xiao Ru tried to guess, you're saying. You're hungry and you want to eat something. The thousand-faced young master quickly nodded. All right, then I'll go get something for you to eat. Qian, what do you want to eat? He drew a circle and then stretched out 2 fingers. 2 steamed buns. Xiao Ru guessed. He quickly shook his head and drew another circle. 2 steamed buns. He forcefully nodded. All right, then I'll go see if there are any steamed buns in the kitchen. You can go bathe first, I'll be back soon. Xiao Ru was very happy to do things for him, so she happily left. The thousand-faced young master finally heaved a sigh of relief. He walked to the washroom at the side, closed the doors and windows, and took off his soaked thin muslin clothes. Looking at the two large white steamed buns that had been soaked in water, he grabbed them and threw them out of the window. He sat in the bathtub filled with hot water and let out a comfortable sigh before closing his eyes. Although he had a bad start today and was unable to lure the young emperor into the water to save him, no one had seen through his flaws, so he could continue to stay. As for revenge, he was not in a hurry. There was still a lot of time. He had plenty of time to play with them. The future was still long. Qian 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 qian. Qian qian, I'm. Bathe bit. The thousand-faced young master sat in the bathtub with his eyes closed, completely forgetting how much time had passed. When he heard Xiao Ru knocking on the door, he was shocked. This is bad, that stupid girl is here again. He knit his brows and stood up. He grabbed the clean clothes that Xiao Ru had prepared for him and wrapped them around his body. He walked out of the bathtub and opened the door to the bathroom. Chapter 1577. Qian, I found the two biggest steamed buns for you. Here, they're for you. The thousand-faced young master looked at the two steamed buns that were bigger than his fist and the corner of his mouth twitched. He wanted steamed buns, but weren't these steamed buns a bit too big? But it was better than nothing. He reached out to take them and smiled at Xiao Ru. Then he closed the door with a ping sound, shutting Xiao Ru outside. What's wrong with Qian? Why is her smile so strange? Also, why do I feel like she's different from before? Xiao Ru scratched her head in puzzlement as she revealed a puzzled look. After a while, the thousand-faced young master opened the door. His chest was like two small hills, making his waist look even more slender. Only the steamed buns that Xiao Ru chose for him were too big, making him feel very uncomfortable. Qian, you're out. Where are the steamed buns? Did you eat them all? Xiao Ru looked at Qian's empty hands and her eyes opened wide in shock. Wasn't the speed at which she ate the steamed buns a bit too fast? The thousand-faced young master nodded and gave her a thank you gesture. Xiao Ru couldn't help looking at her with sympathy. Qian, you must be very hungry. I never thought that you would make such delicious food, but you're still hungry. Next time you cook, you can secretly eat a bit and no one will find out. Are you full from these two steamed buns? If you're not full, I'll bring you two more. The thousand-faced young master's lips twitched again and he quickly shook his head. He gave a yawn and pretended like he was going to sleep. You're sleepy. All right, after this long, it's almost dawn. How about you sleep with me, the two of us can talk and you won't fall into the pond because you can't sleep. I forgot, you don't know how to talk, don't worry, I'll tell you stories. I can tell very good stories, it's all told to me by Xiao Si. Qian, sleep with me, all right? Xiao Ru suddenly blinked her large eyes and looked at him with an expectant expression. This girl that was as stupid as a donkey couldn't have seen through him, right? Why was she always pestering him? She even wanted to sleep on the same bed as him. The thousand-faced young master's heart skipped a beat and he slightly looked down at Xiao Ru. He was a head taller than Xiao Ru and Xiao Ru was very petite in front of him. Her large eyes revealed a pure glow, looking very innocent and pure. She didn't seem like she had seen through his face. Could it be that this lass has really fallen in love with me, and that's why she wants to sleep with me? Thousand-faced young master looked at her longing eyes and actually couldn't bear to refuse. Just as he was about to nod, he suddenly remembered his identity. He was a man, so how could he sleep with this little girl? He resolutely shook his head. Xiao Ru revealed a disappointed expression. Qian, do you not like me? Do you think I'm stupid and annoying like everyone else? She bit her lips, and a layer of tears appeared in her big eyes. Other than the young miss, no one liked her. Zhui Feng hated her and Xiao Si was no longer friendly to her. He had just called her a pig, and now that there was finally a beautiful woman like a goddess, he was acting like he was 1,000 miles away from her. Was she really this stupid and hateful? Chapter 1578. No, this girl was Chen Ning's most trusted person, so he had to win her over. He couldn't let her have a bad impression of him, otherwise it would be bad for him in the future. Thinking about how the thousand-faced young master had lived for over 20 years, he had never learned how to coax a girl. This was the first time and he didn't know how to do it. He just remembered that Zhao Rong princess had told him that a man's bones would turn soft if he gave her a flirtatious look. Since he couldn't flirt with a girl, he would just wink at her. So he quickly patted Xiao Ru's shoulder and winked at her. Qian, what do you want to say? Are your eyes uncomfortable? Xiao Ru didn't understand his meaning and looked at him with a concerned gaze. Idiot! I'm trying to be friendly with you, can't you understand? The thousand-faced young master forcefully squeezed his eyes again. Qian, if your eyes are uncomfortable, then tell me. Come, I'll help you blow them. Xiao Ru was suddenly enlightened. She stood on her tiptoes to help him blow his eyes. The thousand-faced young master didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at Xiao Ru. This girl's head was really carved from wood. He did not dare reject her. What would he do if this girl cried again? He could only let her stand on her tiptoes to help him blow his eyes. Qian, are you feeling better? He quickly nodded, meaning it was fine, it was fine. Qian, you're really beautiful, especially your eyes. Xiao Ru revealed 2 sweet dimples as she smiled. The more she looked at Qian, the more beautiful she felt and her heart was filled with love. She had always been very lonely in the palace, so the maids and eunuchs were all very respectful to her. However, everyone knew that she was the Empress' personal maid and the person the Empress loved the most, so everyone respected her and did not get close to her. No one dared to say anything to her. Other than Chen Ning, there was no one else she could talk to. Today, Qian finally came. Although she didn't know how to speak, she had a very gentle personality. She instantly fell in love with her and only wanted to be friends with her. The thousand-faced young master's lips curled up as he gave another yawn. He couldn't keep entangling himself with this girl Xiao Ru, otherwise the sun would rise. Without his cultivation, he was like a normal person, needing sleep to replenish his energy. Especially after spending half a day in the pond, he was tired and wanted nothing more than to fall asleep on the bed. The thousand-faced young master quickly nodded. All right, then I'll send you back to your room. Xiao Ru pulled his hand. The young master Long Qian Shao Qian. While Xiao Ru walked, she was still looking at him reluctantly. Her eyes couldn't help being attracted by the fullness of his chest. Qian to say. Shi Qian T. Qian QT. The thousand-faced young master followed Xiao Ru's gaze and looked at his chest. His face turned red and then green. Isn't it because the steamed buns you gave me are big? He awkwardly looked away and couldn't help holding the 2 steamed buns in front of his chest. It really was too big. It was very heavy and it kept falling down. Chapter 1579. Qian, do you feel uncomfortable because it's too big? Xiao Ru was still staring at his chest as she asked this question at the last moment. The thousand-faced young master wished he could stuff her mouth with a cloth and cover her eyes with something. If she said one more word, he would find a hole in the ground to hide in. Qian, don't feel embarrassed. Actually, it's good that it's big. If you don't feel comfortable, I have a method. Xiao Ru looked at his red face and giggled. What method? The thousand-faced young master's eyes popped open. Did she find out that there were 2 steamed buns in front of his chest? You can take a piece of cloth and wrap it around your chest. As long as it's tight, you won't feel uncomfortable when you walk in the future. Also, my family's young miss made me a strange undergarment that is very comfortable to wear. I'll make a few for you according to your measurements, alright? Undergarment? What the hell was that? When the thousand-faced young master thought of how a man like him would look wearing an undergarment, he felt a chill run down his spine. He quickly shook his head. Take a piece of cloth and wrap it around it. This was a good idea. He really didn't want to discuss the topic of Xiao Ru's chest with this girl anymore. He stopped and made a hand signal to Xiao Ru, telling her that he had arrived and that she should go back to her room to sleep. Xiao Ru was reluctant to leave. You really don't want me to sleep with you? I'll tell you stories and you'll unknowingly fall asleep. No. Definitely not. The thousand-faced young master firmly shook his head. All right then, have a good rest. I'll come talk to you tomorrow. Xiao Ru looked back every 3 steps, just like a pure little deer. The thousand-faced young master gritted his teeth and turned back into his room, closing the door with a ping sound. No, he couldn't keep entangling himself with this stupid girl. Otherwise, he was worried that when the day came, he wouldn't be able to make a move. The thousand-faced young master thought that if he stayed in Guan Osprey Palace, he would quickly find a chance to see Mo Chuan again. But after 3 days, Mo Chuan didn't appear in Guan Osprey Palace at all and stayed in the royal study every night. When Empress Dowager Zhou heard this news, she couldn't help secretly nodding. What she was most worried about was that her son would be captivated by beauty. Since he liked beauties, then as his mother, she would send him another stunning beauty. But Mo Chuan's performance made her very satisfied. This meant that in her son's heart, women were more important than the country. As long as he was not only devoted to his empress, she did not mind her son marrying a few more concubines. As the ruler of a country, what he hated the most was being devoted and spoiling one person. Su Jin, has there been any movements from the empress these past few days? The emperor hadn't returned to Guan Osprey Palace for 3 days, so the empress probably didn't feel good. She finally had a taste of being alone in an empty room. There were naturally Empress Dowager Zhou's spies in the Guanyu Palace, so any movement would be reported to Empress Dowager Zhou's ears. Su. There. Su's here. Su's Ning, Ming's he she, of Zhou, Empress, Ru Jin, she's, masters, she's, S-E-M-S, SSS red, S. She's SS, she's Zhou, she's, made emo. She's EMS long, he's, he. Chapter 1580. Empress Dowager Zhou gave a cold snort and slammed the teacup in her hand onto the table. Humph. This widow doesn't believe it, she is just putting on an act for this widow to see. After Qian was sent to the Guanyu Palace, did she make things difficult for Qian? Make things difficult? I've never heard of this, only. Su Jin looked at Empress Dowager Zhou, wanting to say something but hesitating. Only what? If you have something to say, then say it. When did you learn to stammer? Empress Dowager Zhou looked at her in displeasure. This servant only heard that on the night Qian arrived in the Guanyu Palace, she couldn't sleep and went to the pond to admire the moon. She accidentally fell into the water, but she was quickly saved by someone and is fine. Su Jin knew that she couldn't hide this matter anymore, so it was better for her to report this to Empress Dowager Zhou. Otherwise, it would be bad if someone with ulterior motives added oil to Empress Dowager Zhou's ears. Accidentally fell into the water. There's such a coincidence? Is it that simple? Sure enough, it was as Su Jin expected. Empress Dowager Zhou gave a cold laugh and her face was filled with disbelief. Su Jin quickly replied, reporting to the Empress Dowager, "This servant has heard this news. Miss Qian also said this, so it shouldn't be false." Qian. What could a weak girl like her know? If someone wants her life, she wouldn't even know who harmed her before she dies. Empress Dowager Zhou forcefully slapped the table. Su Jin looked at Empress Dowager Zhou and carefully said, "The Empress Dowager might really be thinking too much. This servant can see that Qian is a smart girl and was sent by Duke Ning. She has just entered the palace and hasn't offended anyone, so there shouldn't be anyone who wants to harm her." Hasn't offended anyone. Su Jin, you've been in the palace for several decades, don't tell me you don't even understand this. Her beauty is her greatest sin, but this widow never thought that after just a day in the palace, there would already be people who don't like her and want her life. Humph, with this widow here, I want to see who dares touch a single hair on her head. Empress Dowager Zhou narrowed her eyes and revealed a sharp glow. When Su Jin received this news, she knew it was bad, so she waited 3 days before reporting it. She never thought that Empress Dowager Zhou would still be filled with anger. Empress Dowager Zhou, this servant is just thinking that even if there is someone who doesn't like Qian and wants to make things difficult for her, they wouldn't choose the first day in the palace to do, wouldn't it be too obvious? When Empress Dowager Zhou heard this, she, Dowager Zhou, Empress, Dowager Dowager, you Dowagerly, I said, Dowager, Dowager, Li and said. Su Jin quickly said, Empress Dowager, Miss Qian has been living very well these past 3 days. The Empress is very kind to her and even the maid by the Empress side named Xiao Ru likes Miss Qian. She was sent by the Empress Dowager, so they don't dare neglect her. Is Tian this? I think I did, but His Majesty has been busy these past few days and hasn't even returned to Guan Osprey Palace. Chapter 1581. This servant will remember. Su Jin respectfully replied. All right, you can leave. Empress Dowager Zhou waved her hand. When Su Jin was prepared to leave, Empress Dowager Zhou suddenly thought of something and called out to her. Su Jin, do you have any news of Xiao Bai? King Jing'an. Su Jin turned around and shook her head. This servant has not heard of King Jing'an's whereabouts. The emperor said that King Jing'an is wandering the world and has no place to stay. When he is tired of playing, he will naturally come back. Empress Dowager, King Jing'an's martial arts are very high and he is very smart, there won't be any danger. You old lady doesn't need to worry too much. Empress Dowager Zhou held her chest and said with a sigh, but this widow can't feel assured without any news of Xiao Bai. This widow has watched him grow up and although he is this widow's grandson, this widow's love for him is not any less than the emperor's. In terms of closeness, he is even closer to this widow than the emperor. Now that he is wandering the world by himself, how can this widow not worry about him? He has been served by people since he was young, how could he endure the hardships of the Jianghu and that kind of suffering? My Xiao Bai, just thinking about it makes my heart hurt. Su Jin had been by Empress Dowager Zhou's side for a long time, so how could she not understand Empress Dowager Zhou's feelings for Chu Xiao Bai? But now that things had reached this point, she had no other choice and could only advise her. Empress Dowager, if you keep thinking like this, a few more strands of your hair will turn white. When King Jing'an comes back and his appearance hasn't changed, the Empress Dowager will be so old that you won't even be able to recognize King Jing'an. You little girl, you're actually cursing this widow like this. Empress Dowager Zhou couldn't help glaring at Su Jin. This servant doesn't dare. Su Jin quickly bowed down. All right, this widow knows that you are comforting me. Stand up. Empress Dowager Zhou rubbed her forehead and gave a sigh. This widow also knows, but my heart is not at ease. Xiao Bai has left and Xiao Yang has also left. In the end, it is all because of that main culprit. She was filled with anger as she spoke. This matter was a thorn in her heart that she couldn't resolve no matter what. Su Jin stuck out her tongue and quietly left. After leaving the peaceful life palace, she couldn't help shaking her head and sighing. Actually, this matter had nothing to do with the Empress, but the ancient divine doctor could not resolve the resentment in the Empress Dowager's heart. She really didn't know when the Empress would resolve the knot in the Empress' heart. Perhaps when the Empress became pregnant one day and gave birth to an imperial grandson, seeing her own grandson, this thorn in Empress Dowager Zhou's heart would unknowingly soften. However, His Majesty had been busy with government affairs these past few days and hadn't even taken half a step into Guan Osprey Palace. When would the Empress get pregnant? Even if she entered Guan Osprey Palace, there was still that beauty called Qianqian. If His Majesty really took a fancy to her and neglected the Empress, what would she do? Shi Chen, Shi Jin, Su Jin, Chen, Dower Su Jin had been by Empress Dowager Zhou's side for many years, so she understood Empress Dowager Zhou's intentions. Since Empress Dowager Zhou decided to send Qianqian to the Guanyu Palace, she could see that Empress Dowager Zhou was clearly giving the Empress a hard time, expressing her dissatisfaction. Chapter 1582. Qianqian had a beautiful and enchanting appearance, while the Empress was elegant and refined. The two of them were like roses and orchids, one bright and one elegant, each having their own advantages. If she was a man, it would be hard for her to choose, not to mention the Emperor. His status was different, so naturally he could have one on his left and one on his right. If he really liked Qianqian, he could naturally take Qianqian into his harem as a concubine. Su Jin had a stomach full of worries as she unknowingly arrived at the gates of Guan Osprey Palace. Auntie Su Jin. The guard outside the door saw her and loudly greeted her. Is the Empress in the palace? Su Jin thought that since she was here, she might as well go see the Empress and see how Qianqian was doing. Reporting to Aunt Su Jin, the Empress hasn't left the palace yet. I'm under the Empress Dowager's orders to come see the Empress. Aunt Su Jin, this servant will immediately report to the Empress. No need, you guys continue to guard here. I'll go in myself. Su Jin's sleeves gently waved as she walked into Guan Osprey Palace. Once she entered Guan Osprey Palace, she felt like she was surrounded by greenery. It was like she was in a paradise, with scenery everywhere. Mo Chuan didn't make this Guan Osprey Palace as grand as the other palaces. There was no beauty in this palace, only elegance. Craftsmanship could be seen everywhere. The pavilions were hidden in the green forest, faintly discernible. Only the sound of flowing water could be heard. Su Jin suspected that she had walked out of the palace and arrived in a quiet mountain forest. Seeing this arrangement, she couldn't help admiring Mo Chuan's care in her heart. If he didn't love someone to the extreme, how could he treat them this carefully, even thinking of every detail? The Empress was truly a blessed person. The Emperor could treat the Empress this carefully, so no matter how many fairies there were, the Emperor wouldn't take a second look. She suddenly let go of the worry in her heart and her lips curled into a faint smile. Aunt Su Jin, why are you here? Xiao Ru came out of the small kitchen with a box of food. When she saw Su Jin, she called out in a surprised and happy voice. I was just passing by, so I came to greet the Empress. Su Jin said with a faint smile. This servant forgot to greet Aunt Su Jin. Xiao Ru quickly put down the box of food and bowed to Su Jin. We have the same status. Xiao Ru, you don't need to greet me. That won't do. The Empress has ordered this servant to respect the Empress Dowager and the people in the Empress Dowager's palace. Not to mention that Aunt Su Jean has always taken care of my young miss, so this servant is very grateful. Xiao Ru said straightforwardly. The smile on Su Jin's lips couldn't help widening. She was thinking that if Empress Dowager Zhou heard this, perhaps she would change her opinion of the Empress. Auntie, please wait a moment. This servant will go and report to my eldest Mississippi. If she hears that you're here, she will definitely be very happy. Xiao Su Ling, please aunt, she said, Xiao. And, to say, Chen, to say. Hearing Xiao Ru's report, Chen Ning quickly put down the medical book in her hand and walked out. Chapter 1583. This servant Su Jin greets the Empress. Su Jin put down the box of food and respectfully bowed down. Aunt, there's no need to be so polite, let's talk inside. Chen Ning pulled Su Jin's hand and walked into the room, ordering Xiao Ru to bring some refreshments. Xiao Ru stuck out her tongue and shouted, I left the box of food in the small kitchen. Inside are the pastries that Qian just made, I'll go get it immediately. She quickly ran out. Xiao Ru, I've already brought the box of food. It's on the ground outside the door. Su Jin said with a smile. Ah, many thanks Aunt Su Jin. Xiao Ru quickly brought the box of food in and placed the pastries on the table. Instantly a sweet fragrance filled the air. Su Jin did not feel hungry at all, but when she smelled the fragrance and saw the exquisite pastries, she suddenly felt hungry. Aunt, these pastries were made by Qian. Have a taste and do you like it? Chen Ning said with a faint smile. Su Jin was not polite as she picked up a piece of chestnut cake and placed it in her mouth. She felt that it was fragrant and soft, melting in her mouth. After swallowing it, there was still the fragrance of the chestnut in her mouth, leaving behind an endless aftertaste. This chestnut cake is really good, I never thought that Qian would have this kind of skill. Not only is she good at making dishes, she even makes pastries this good. The Empress will have good food in the future. She repeatedly praised. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile without saying anything, but Xiao Ru straightforwardly said, Aunt Su Jin, you don't know. Although these pastries were made by Miss Qian, the recipe was given by my family's young miss. Not only is the chestnut cake delicious, there is also the fungus water chestnut cake that is fragrant and sweet but not greasy. Have a taste, if you don't like sweet things, there is also this crispy scallion cake. It's salty and crispy, very delicious. She placed the pastries in front of Su Jin like they were treasures. Su Jin said in a pleasantly surprised voice, so the recipe was given by the Empress. No wonder I've never seen these desserts before, let alone eaten them. She didn't stand on ceremony and tasted every dish. She couldn't stop praising them. This chestnut cake and fungus water chestnut cake are fragrant and soft, sweet but not greasy, melting in your mouth. The Empress Dowager will definitely like them. She first thought of Empress Dowager Zhou, so she casually said it. Chen Ning said with a smile, this is simple. Then let Qian follow Aunt Su Jin to the peaceful palace and make it for the Empress Dowager. Su Jin jumped in fright. She thought that the Empress Dowager had just sent this person over. If she brought him back, the Empress Dowager would definitely blame her. There's no need. I was just casually saying it. Qian was sent to Guan Osprey Palace by the Empress Dowager, so this servant wouldn't dare to act on my own and take her away. Otherwise, if the Empress Dowager were to blame me, this servant wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. This servant thanks the Empress. Su Jin received it and stood up to give her thanks. Aunt is too polite. The Empress Dowager is my elder, so it is my duty to show filial piety to the Empress Dowager. Chapter 1584. And will personally ask her when we meet. Chen Ning turned to Xiao Ru and said, "Go invite Qian Qian over." Not long later, Qian Qian followed behind Xiao Ru. She walked in front of Chen Ning and bowed down. "No need to be so polite. This is Aunt Su Jin. She came to visit you after receiving the Empress Dowager's orders." Qian Qian looked up and gratefully looked at Su Jin. She raised her hand and made a gesture. She said, "Thank you Empress Dowager and thank you Aunt." Chen Ning translated for her. Su Jin said in a surprised voice, "The Empress understands sign language?" Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and said, "I've seen it in a book and unknowingly remembered it. I never thought I would be able to use it here. The Empress is knowledgeable, it really is admirable." Su Jin said in a sincere voice. The more she looked at Chen Ning, the more satisfied she was with her. This Empress was not only beautiful, she was smart, she had a good personality, and she knew a lot of things. She would give her a pleasant surprise from time to time. It was a pity that the Empress Dowager was prejudiced against her. She could not see her beautiful side and could not forget her status as the Ding Yuan princess. If the Empress Dowager could solve the grudge in her heart one day, she would find that she had a daughter-in-law that everyone would envy. I can see that Qian Qian is living a good life in the Guanyu Palace and the Empress must be treating her very well. After the Empress Dowager finds out, she must be very relieved. This Miss Qian Qian was sent to the palace by Duke Ning, so the Empress Dowager doesn't want her to suffer any grievances. Su Jin vaguely mentioned this. Aunt can be assured. In my eyes, Qian Qian is the same as Xiao Ru. I will take care of her like my own little sister and won't let her suffer any grievances. Chen Ning looked at Qian Qian and revealed a faint smile. Of course this servant knows the Empress' character, but this servant has heard that Qian Qian fell into the water because of a mistake. Seeing that Qian Qian is fine, this servant can tell the truth to the Empress Dowager. When Qian Qian heard this, she quickly made a few gestures. These gestures were very simple. Even without Chen Ning's translation, Su Jin could understand them. You're saying that when you looked at the moon that night and accidentally fell into the pond, it had nothing to do with anyone else? Qian Qian nodded. He was very clear on Su Jin's intentions, it was just Empress Dowager Zhou supporting him and using this chance to suppress Chen Ning. However, he did not plan on doing as Empress Dowager Zhou wanted. Chen Ning was his prey and he wanted to slowly play with her. If he let someone else do it, he would lose the fun of torturing his prey. Qian, this is your first time in Guan Osprey Palace, so you have to follow the rules of the palace in the future. Going to the pond to look at the moon in the middle of the night is already a violation of the palace rules. It's a good thing you're fine. If something had really happened to you, the Empress Dowager would definitely investigate. Wouldn't you be letting the Empress take the blame for you? Qian hurriedly knelt on the ground and made a terrified expression. At the same time, she pointed to her heart and swore that she would never do it again. Qian kneeled on the ground with a. Qian stood up and bowed to Chen Ning before slowly leaving the room. Standing outside the door, he rubbed his knees, feeling indescribably suffocated. To think that he was the dignified thousand-faced young master, the young master of the Purple Cloud Pavilion. In the Purple Cloud Pavilion, hundreds responded to his call. Everyone who saw him, who wouldn't respectfully bow down to him. Chapter 1585. Qian, why are you so unhappy? Is it because Aunt Su Jin scolded you? Xiao Ru followed behind him and also left, leaving Chen Ning and Su Jin talking in the room. She saw the thousand-faced young master's gloomy face and without knowing why, she felt that this expression was a bit familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had seen it before. The thousand-faced young master suddenly remembered that this was the palace and not the Purple Heaven Pavilion, so he couldn't act arrogantly. He didn't have any martial arts now and was just a normal person. In this palace, anyone could bully him, so he had to be submissive. He couldn't even offend this Xiao Ru that he looked down on. What was so good about the palace? There were rules everywhere. Thinking about those women that wanted to marry into the palace, they were all extremely stupid, including the Zhao Rong princess. He had only stayed in the palace for 3 days, but he already felt like each day was like a year. If it wasn't for fulfilling his wish, he would have already given up. Qian, don't be unhappy. Actually, Aunt Su Jin is a very good person. She said those words to you for your own good. If something happened to you, the Empress Dowager would be worried. In the future, don't go to the pond to look at the moon in the middle of the night. If you can't sleep, I can sleep with you. Xiao Ru warmly comforted him. The corner of the thousand-faced young master's mouth twitched. He glanced at her and recalled how she had been sticking to him like a dog skin plaster for the past few days. That mouth of hers had been chattering non-stop, causing his ears to almost grow grass. What if he asked her to sleep with him? Just thinking about it made him feel terrified. Are you cold? Why are you shivering? Xiao Ru asked in a concerned voice. The thousand-faced young master shook his head. He pointed at the guest room in the back courtyard and then ran away. Qian, are you going to go to the palace? My stomach is also a bit painful, let's go together. Xiao Ru followed after. The thousand-faced young master's face turned green. His hand was being pulled by Xiao Ru, so he couldn't shake her off or let her pull him. At this time, he really regretted pretending to be mute. Now he couldn't say anything. Su Jin didn't stay in the Guanyu Palace for too long before returning to the Peaceful Life Palace to report to Empress Dowager Zhou. Empress Dowager Zhou had an absent-minded look and cut her off before she could finish. Su Jin, send someone to the Emperor's place to have a look. Ai Jia always feels alarmed, as if something bad is going to happen. You don't have to go personally in the future, just tell our people to pay more attention. Whether she is well or not, Ai Jia doesn't care. Ai Jia is only worried about the Emperor. Yes, Empress Dowager. Su Jin quickly sent a clever little eunuch to inquire. Jin not long after Chen Ning sent Su Jin, into the palace. Your Highness, the Emperor is in the imperial study. He has an urgent matter to discuss. Empress. Chen Ning knit her brows and immediately stood up. All right, I'll go right away. Ling Ning said, Chen, Su Chen, Ling Jin, I, Ning, Ru, Ning, Jin, I, Ning, she, you, sirs, why are you standing outside the door? She asked in surprise. The ministers looked awkward and lowered their heads in silence. Xiao Si said in a low voice, His Majesty is furious inside and chased them all out. Chapter 1586. Chen Ning nodded and gently knocked on the door. Then she pushed the door open and closed it behind her. Ning, come in. Mo Chuan could already hear her voice from outside. She saw Mo Chuan standing in front of the imperial table with his hands on the table, looking at the large map. He looked up and his eyes sparkled as he looked at her, but there was no anger on his face. What happened? Xiao Si said that you flew into a rage and kicked out all the ministers? She walked closer and asked in a curious voice. Mo Chuan gave an sound and said, I don't like listening to their clichés, none of them have any use. What happened? But did Chu Xiaoyang really rebel? Chen Ning's eyes fell onto the map and she saw Mo Chuan draw a large cross on the southern pass. Mo Chuan nodded and raised his brows as he said, If my guess isn't wrong, Chu Xiaoyang really led the South Yu army to the southern pass in Shuanglu. Before the people I sent to warn them even reached the southern pass, they received news that the southern pass had been lost. Chen Ning was shocked. Although Mo Chuan had said this before, she did not dare believe that Chu Xiaoyang would really betray his country for glory. Chu Xiaoyang really betrayed his country? She asked in a voice filled with disbelief. Not only did he betray his country, he also captured the southern pass and is eyeing Shuanglu. If the southern pass is lost, Shuanglu will be in danger. If Shuanglu is lost, my West Chu's gates will be open to the South Yu army. So, no matter what, I have to defend Shuanglu. Mo Chuan heavily slapped the table. Has this matter already been spread to the court? Chen Ning asked, thinking of the ministers that Mo Chuan had kicked out. That's right. This morning, I received a secret report sent from 800 miles away. The secret report said that Chu Xiaoyang had led his army to attack West Chu and they were unstoppable. The reinforcements I sent to the southern pass had not even arrived, but they had already captured the southern pass. It could be said that they had won easily. I have already given the order for all the reinforcements to retreat to Shuanglu. We have to defend Shuanglu no matter what. We can't let Shuanglu fall into the hands of Chu Xiaoyang's South Yu army. Mo Chuan said this and forcefully slapped the table again. His face revealed an angry look. Everyone knows about this matter. I asked in court who was willing to lead the army. Do you know what the ministers said? They also said that Chu Xiaoyang was the previous emperor's son, so even if he betrayed the country, it was still acceptable. As long as I was willing to ask him for peace and give him the title of king, perhaps he would withdraw his troops. They also said that South Yu was strong and our West Chu soldiers were few, so if we fought, it would be a disaster for West Chu. It would be better to send a letter of surrender when the war had just started. Perhaps we would have a chance of survival. These cowards only know how to cling to life and fear death. What use do I have for them? Chapter 1587. Mo Chuan naturally understood Chen Ning's reasoning, but he had gathered the ministers and wanted them to work together to come up with a plan to deal with Chu Xiaoyang and the Southern Yu army. But after listening, all he heard was surrender. How could he not be angry? Ning, you're right. If they surrender to Chu Xiaoyang, they can still be the prime minister and even be promoted a rank. How could they suffer a loss? But everyone can surrender, only I can't. Since he wants to fight, then I'll fight. I've already sent 3 groups of elite soldiers to meet the enemy. One group is to defend Shuanglu as reinforcements, one group is to defend Yuezhou, and one group is to take back the southern pass. If Shuanglu is lost, they will attack Yuezhou next, and Yuezhou is only 800 miles from the capital. If Shuanglu is lost, then I will do my best to defend Yuezhou. No matter what, we can't let the Southern Yu army reach the city and endanger Mother and the capital's citizens. Chen Ning said in a deep voice, although I don't understand military strategy, I have heard of a saying, divide and conquer is better than unite. Since the southern pass has been lost and Chu Xiaoyang's men have just taken the southern pass, their morale has been greatly boosted. If you send a group to take the southern pass, it will be filled with difficulties. If they fail, it will lower the morale of the generals, so it's better to gather these 3 groups and send them to Shuanglu as reinforcements. They will defend Shuanglu and stop the Southern Yu army's advance. Mo Chuan's eyes lit up and his palms clapped together, releasing a crisp sound. That's right, Ning, this method of yours is very good. Why didn't I think of it? Not bad, not bad. Divide and conquer is better than unite. This is the reason. The so-called divided strength is weak. I only wanted to take back the southern pass and forgot about this key point. He was filled with energy and raised his pen to write an imperial decree. He called the secret guards and had them send the 3 groups of people. Chen Ning's eyes sparkled and she suddenly said, how about you also give me an imperial decree and have me help defend Shuanglu? Mo Chuan gave a laugh and shook his head as he said, this isn't something to play around with. Going to war has always been a matter for men, how could I need a girl like you to go kill enemies? Just obediently stay in the palace with me, your thoughts are clearer than mine. I still have many things I need you to help me analyze. He was in a very good mood as he said with a faint smile, after this battle, I'm afraid it will take a while. Chu Xiaoyang is leading the army this time, there is also the South Yu country's second prince accompanying him. I've heard that this second prince is a brave and talented general, but as long as I have you by my side to help me strategize, as well as the 2 military books you personally wrote, so what if we lose in the beginning? As long as we don't panic and fight a few more battles, the one standing at the end will be the final victor. Chen Ning said with a smile, you're still saying that there are no generals in the court, aren't you a general yourself? Not panicking even if we lose, this is the style of a general. You haven't thought about winning and you've already calculated that we will lose, but as long as our soldiers can stop the South Yu army, it will be a large blow to the South Yu army's morale. There is a saying in the art of war, the first spurt of energy, the second is weak, and the third is exhausted. As long as they can't take down Shuanglu, the soldiers' courage will drop to a very low point and our army's courage will soar. In a narrow path, the courageous will win, so breaking the South Yu army won't be a difficult matter. Chapter 1588. Ning, who says you don't understand the art of war? Not only did you memorize the art of war, you even said these words very well. Mo Chuan raised his brows and praised. I just memorized a few sentences from a book, how could I understand the art of war? If I really understood the art of war, would you send me to the front lines? Her eyes looked at him without blinking. Mo Chuan couldn't help patting the back of her head and said with a smile, why do you always want to go to the front lines to fight? Do you want to be an awe-inspiring general? All right, I promise you. Really? Her eyes lit up. Really, but not now. I'm still not familiar with the art of war and Chu Xiaoyang has the brave Southern Yu second prince to help him. I'm afraid we'll lose a few battles in the beginning, but as long as we don't fall into chaos, we'll have a chance to make a comeback. So, we'll let others fight the first few battles and when the Southern Yu army is exhausted, I'll send you. You'll go into battle at that time and be an unprecedented female general, completely defeating them. Then, you'll personally capture Chu Xiaoyang and drive the Southern Yu army out of our West Chu, alright? Chen Ning revealed a faint smile, alright, I also like winning battles and don't like being defeated by others. Then we'll have a deal. A gentleman's promise is more important than 9 cauldrons. Since I've promised you, naturally I won't go back on it. Mo Chuan said with a smile. Alright, then I'll go back to the palace first and wait for your good news. Mo Chuan nodded. He reached out his arms and pulled her into his embrace. He gently kissed her face and his voice became gentle, Ning, it's good that you're by my side, making my courage increase. You don't know how grateful I am to the heavens for letting me meet you. His eyes looking at her were filled with tenderness. Chen Ning's heart felt warm and it was like she had eaten honey. She stood on her tiptoes and gently kissed Mo Chuan, but it was on his lips. Her lips were soft and her sweet fragrance filled his nose. Mo Chuan's heart skipped a beat and he wanted to hug her for a deep kiss, but she slipped out of his embrace like a little fish. Mo Chuan, my feelings for me are the same, but we have a lot of time in the future. He nodded and suppressed the excitement in his heart. The war had already begun and now was not the time to be sentimental. We'll receive news from the front lines in the next few days, so I'll stay here and won't return to the Guanyu Palace. You have to take care of yourself, do you understand? She heard his childlike voice and couldn't help laughing as she said, Mo Chuan, I'm not a 3-year-old child, I can take care of myself. As for you, don't forget to eat because you're busy with the war. You have to know that you are the West Chu great general now, so you need to eat your fill to command the army. Also, not only do we need to guard against wolves, we also need to guard against tigers. Mo Chuan nodded again. I understand your meaning. I'm also worried that East Qin will take advantage of this news, so I've already sent horses to send this news to your father, Great General Qin. As long as Great General Qin is here, the border will not be broken. I can relax half of my heart and focus on dealing with the South Yu Kingdom. Chapter 1589. Relax, before long, I will give you the chance to be the great general. Now, obediently return to the palace for me. Mo Chuan's face turned serious and he pushed her out the door without saying a word. Xiao Si saw that Chen Ning had also been kicked out by Mo Chuan and his face turned white. He said in a worried voice, "This is bad, this is bad. Even the Empress has been kicked out by the Emperor. It seems like the Emperor is still angry. What should we do? We can't have this servant go to the Peaceful Life Palace to invite the Empress Dowager over, right? If the Empress Dowager knew of this matter, she would immediately faint. This servant does not have the courage to report this to the Empress Dowager." That's right, the Empress Dowager just sent someone to inquire about this matter. This servant managed to muddle through with great difficulty, but I'm afraid I won't be able to hide it for long. Chen Ning was a bit surprised. The Empress Dowager also sent someone. Could it be that she heard some rumors? Xiao Si shook his head and said, "This servant doesn't know." "Empress, you said that the Emperor is still angry and he won't even eat. What should we do?" Chen Ning said, "Just send the food in, he will naturally eat when he's hungry. Also, go and pass on the Emperor's orders, have all the ministers disperse and return to their homes to find their mothers. The Emperor will be angry whenever he sees them. As for the Empress Dowager, hide it for as long as you can. Although paper can't hide the fire, letting the Empress Dowager know about it later is better." After she said this, it was like Xiao Si had eaten a tranquilizer. He replied, "Yes, this servant will do it now. Also, Xiao Si, the Emperor will be very tired these days. You have to take good care of his body, do you understand?" Chen Ning stopped him and warned him. Xiao Si forcefully nodded. "Empress, please be assured, this is this servant's duty. I will definitely take good care of the Emperor. If the Emperor doesn't eat, this servant will report to you. As long as you come, the Emperor will not have any worries." Chen Ning said with a faint smile, "All right, you can go." She turned around and entered the sedan waiting outside, returning to the Guanyu Palace. Southern Pass City. On the high city walls, the West Chu flag had already been burned to ashes and the one flying in the air was the South Yu country's war flag. There was a fierce and lifelike tiger embroidered on the flag with golden thread. There were 2 pairs of wings on the side that were fluttering in the wind. The tiger was baring its fangs and claws, just like it was alive. The South Yu country respected tigers, so a tiger with wings was an auspicious sign. Chu Xiaoyang was standing under this flag, slightly looking up at the South Yu country's flag fluttering in the wind. The flag was being blown by the wind and his face was filled with uncertainty. He wore a pure white battle armor that wasn't tainted by even a speck of dust, and he wore a jade crown on his head, causing his jet black hair to seem even darker and his face to seem even more snow-white. His back was ramrod straight, and he was like a god of war that descended from the heavens while emanating an awe-inspiring might. Around him were groups of South Yu soldiers holding spears. They all looked at Chu Xiaoyang with gazes of worship and awe, not looking down on him because he was a West Chu king. In just a few short days, they had personally witnessed the might of this West Chu king. No one dared to disobey or contradict his orders at all because on the first day Chu Xiaoyang came to the army, he had already established his military might. Chapter 1590. Especially those meritorious generals. When they saw that Chu Xiaoyang was young and handsome, as well as his status as a West Chu trader, they looked down on him from the bottom of their hearts. They could not understand why the emperor would make him the king of Chu. Not only did he give him the title of king of Chu, he also gave the military power to a traitor. So there were people who ridiculed him, people who looked down on him, and people who spoke rudely. Chu Xiaoyang turned a blind eye to these people and turned a deaf ear to their words. That night, in the middle of the night, he walked into the central tent alone. The first thing he did was to beat the drum and order the generals. Dong! 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 The deafening sound of the drum was like an angry thunder that resounded over the South Yu capital, waking up the sleeping night. This was the beating drum. When the generals heard the beating drum, they were all awakened from their dreams. They did not dare believe their ears as they listened to the dense rain of drum beats. The beating drum. Why would someone sound the drum of general at this time? Could it be that my ears are damaged? Or is father dreaming? The generals listened carefully and found that this was not a dream at all. There was indeed someone beating the drum. They immediately got up from their warm blankets, hurriedly mounted their horses, and galloped towards the direction of the drill ground. Some generals didn't even bother to put on their boots and hurried to the general selection stage. The army had a strict order. After the beating of the drum, all the generals and soldiers had to gather in front of the stage within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Otherwise, they would be beheaded. No one dared to disobey the military order. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, all the generals and soldiers had gathered in front of the stage. Some of them had thrown away their armor, some were barefooted, some were only wearing their upper body armor, and some had messy hair. They all looked very funny, but no one dared to laugh. Time was too short. It was already not easy for them to arrive in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, so no one cared about their image. Only, everyone's eyes were looking at the stage. There were several dozen torches lit around the stage, illuminating the entire stage. Everyone could clearly see that the huge platform was empty, not a single person could be seen. What was going on? Why was it that someone had sounded the roll-calling drum, but no one appeared on the roll-calling platform? Could it be that someone was playing a big joke on them? The generals and soldiers began to angrily shout. There was actually someone who dared to use the drum to play a joke on them. They clearly did not want to live. Who is it? This kind of courage, actually daring to beat the drum. Stand out. What kind of man are you if you don't dare to admit what you did? We have to catch this person who disturbed the army and behead him. Amidst the clamor of the crowd, someone suddenly pointed at a corner of the stage and shouted, "Look, there's a person there." The soldiers looked in the direction of the man's finger, and indeed, they saw a white figure. He was dressed in a snow-white battle robe, and no one knew when he had gone up the stage, but no one had noticed. The man in white slowly stepped forward and walked to the center of the stage. He glanced at the generals and soldiers below the stage. His gaze was dignified and deep, like a sharp arrow of ice. It's him. It's the newly appointed King Chu Xiaoyang. He is king of Chu as of. That's right, he's just a traitor. Who does he think he is? Chapter 1591. Chu Xiaoyang turned a deaf ear to the noise coming from below the stage. He slowly raised the imperial edict in his hand and opened it with a schwa sound. This is the order. Anyone who disobeys will be beheaded. He circulated his inner energy, causing his voice to be clear and impassioned, and it carried a strand of murderous intent as it resounded throughout the entire drill grounds, allowing everyone to hear it clearly. No one said anything, but many people had looks of disdain on their faces, especially those generals who had military merits. A stinky brat who was still wet behind the ears, relying on his status as the West Chu king. He had only presented a map and obtained the emperor's favor, allowing him to command the three armies. They were all blood-soaked generals with military merits, so why did they have to listen to this stinky brat's orders? He was just using the imperial edict as a command arrow. Some people couldn't hold it in and began to berate him. What qualifications do you have to beat the drum? Do you know that once the drum is struck, it will shake the heavens and the earth? If it wasn't for the fact that something big had happened, then you would have committed a grave crime by beating the drum without permission. This person was the commander of the capital's guard army, named Wu Qingji. He was the emperor's favorite and had a high position. He had an arrogant look on his face as he looked at Chu Xiaoyang on the stage. Chu Xiaoyang's face sank as his eyes fell onto Wu Qingji's face. He softly said, "Who are you?" "I am the commander of the capital's guard army, Wu Qingji." Wu Qingji loudly said, his voice shaking the field. "Very good, let's start the roll." Chu Xiaoyang put away the imperial edict and opened the list. He loudly said, "Wu Qingji." All the generals were stunned, and Wu Qingji was even more stunned. His name wasn't the first on the list, and he was always called at the end of the list. In this moment of shock, Chu Xiaoyang had already called again, "Wu Qingji." Wu Qingji instinctively wanted to agree, but when he saw Chu Xiaoyang's young face that had not been tainted by the flames of war at all, his chest felt suffocated and he swallowed the tear that was about to come out of his mouth. He was just a stinky brat that hadn't even grown his hair. What qualifications did he have to shout his name here? Was his name something he could shout? In the entire capital, who would not respectfully call him Master Wu when they saw him? Chu Xiaoyang had already called for the third time, "Where is Wu Qingji?" Someone beside him couldn't help whispering, "Commander Wu, quickly answer. If you don't answer 3 times, you will be beheaded." Wu Qingji gave a snort and ignored him. He had an arrogant look on his face as he looked at Chu Xiaoyang. He was thinking, "I won't agree, let's see what a brat like you can do to this commander." Father doesn't believe that you have the guts to cut off father's head. The commander of the Jingdo guards, Wu Qingji, didn't even give 3 warnings. He deserves to be executed. Men, execute him. Chu Xiaoyang stood on the stage and shouted in a cold. Everyone below the stage stood there without moving. They looked at each other in blank dismay and revealed a look of disbelief, as if Chu Xiaoyang on the stage was telling a giant joke. To Commander. Did they hear wrong? Who didn't know that Commander Wu was the emperor's most trusted person? He had once led the army to the southern Yu country, so the emperor made him the commander of the guard army and had him guard the imperial city. He was more favored than anyone else. Chapter 1592. Stinky brat, your hair hasn't even grown out yet you dare come to my South Yu country to show off your might. Why don't you ask around, just who I, Wu Qingji am? When father was dominating the battlefield, you were still wearing diapers. You want to cut off father's head, pay. Father will stand here today. I want to see who dares to touch a single hair of father's. Wu Qingji puffed out his chest and said arrogantly. Before he could even say the word hair, he suddenly felt a chill on his neck. His eyes were wide open, almost popping out. His face was filled with an indescribable look of shock. Even in death, he did not know how he died. Hua! The army burst into an uproar. They only saw Chu Xiaoyang's white figure fly down from the sky like a god of war. A shining long sword had appeared in his hand. A white light flashed. A head flew into the air, and fresh blood spurted out from the neck, splattering all over the faces of the surrounding people. The blood was still warm. The army couldn't help looking up at the head flying in the air. That face was filled with anger, filled with disbelief and shock. His eyes popped out. If it wasn't Commander Wu Qingji, then who could it be? Commander Wu has been killed. This brat cut off Commander Wu's head. Quickly! quickly report this to the emperor." After everyone recovered from their shock, they began to shout out. Some people were already running towards the gates of the field. They saw a white figure flash in the air. Shwa! 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 Several skulls fell to the ground. The people that wanted to run out to report were all corpses on the ground. It was unknown when Chu Xiaoyang had jumped back onto the general stage. Standing high up on the stage, the wind blew against his battle robe, making him look like a god. The tip of the sword in his hand was still dripping with blood, dripping onto the stage. Everyone was shocked by this scene as they stared at Chu Xiaoyang on the high stage. The large field was completely silent, no one dared to even make a sound. Chu Xiaoyang slowly raised his sword and gently blew off the blood on the tip. Then he wrapped the soft sword around his waist. Everyone finally realized that he had a soft sword on his waist. No wonder he was able to appear and disappear like a ghost, instantly cutting off Wu Qingji's head. They all looked at Chu Xiaoyang like they were looking at a devil. They were afraid that this devil-like man would suddenly make a move and their heads would be removed from their necks. In an instant, many people regretted mocking Chu Xiaoyang. Their hearts were filled with anxiety, afraid that Chu Xiaoyang would pursue this matter. Who would have thought that after Chu Xiaoyang put away the soft sword, he would not even look at the people in the crowd and he coldly said, "I will call 3 times. Those that don't answer will be beheaded." The hearts of the soldiers turned cold. Now no one dared to think that Chu Xiaoyang was joking. Wu Qingji's corpse lying on the ground was the most terrifying example. Chu Xiaoyang opened the general book and loudly said, "King, Great General. Commander. South General. Great. South." Chu Xiaoyang called out names one by one and there was a loud response from the audience. No one dared to go against his words or actions anymore. When the army thought of the general picking stage, they were filled with fear towards Chu Xiaoyang. Chapter 1593. After occupying the southern pass city, the next target was Shuanglu. Chu Xiaoyang looked at the flying tiger banner fluttering in the wind and revealed a rare serious look on his face. He had already taken the southern pass city for 5 days, but he had been guarding the southern pass city without moving. He heard the sound of boots behind him. Someone was striding up the city wall, heading straight for him. Chu Xiaoyang did not turn around and just lightly said, "Pingxi Jun Wang, are you here to patrol the city?" Behind him was a 26 or 27-year-old youth. He had a tall and sturdy body, with a wide waist and a pair of bright eyes under his thick eyebrows. At this moment, his eyes were filled with anger as he viciously stared at Chu Xiaoyang. This Pingxi Jun Wang was not someone else, it was the South Yu country's second prince, Tuo Bajing. He was brave and incomparably brave, leading the soldiers on the battlefield, earning many military merits for the South Yu country. He was even called the South Yu country's war god by many people. So he was given the title of Jun Wang at a young age and was placed in an important position by the South Yu emperor. He worked hard every day, hoping that one day he could go into battle and lead the South Yu army to sweep through West Chu, earning a great merit. He had waited 10 years for this chance and it had finally come to him. The emperor really did send an army to the west, but the commander was not him, but rather Chu Xiaoyang, who had just escaped from West Chu. The thing that made him the most angry was that he was the emperor's son and had made great contributions, but he was only given the title of Jun Wang. The other side had not made a single contribution, but his royal father had given him the title of King Chu, a title that was above him. He was a dignified prince, yet he had to greet him when he saw him. How could he accept this? What filled him with even more indignation was that his royal father had given him the position of this brat's vice-general. Tuo Bajing was filled with hatred, not accepting Chu Xiaoyang at all. He just wanted to find a chance to have a good fight with the other side, letting the other side know just how powerful he was. But the army was very strict, forbidding private fights, and anyone who disobeyed would be beheaded. Although he was a prince, he did not dare go against a military order, so he could only endure it. But his unwillingness to accept Chu Xiaoyang had already appeared on his face. Chu Xiaoyang already saw this, but he did not care. When Tuobejing heard the other party address him as Pingxi Jun Wang, instead of second prince, it was obvious that the other party was pressuring him with his official position. Tuobejing felt suffocated and depressed. He angrily said, "This prince is not here to patrol the city, but here to find you." "Oh, I don't know why the duke isn't patrolling the city and is instead looking for this king." Chu Xiaoyang still did not turn around as his eyes continued to look forward. Tuobejing couldn't help following Chu Xiaoyang's line of sight. All he saw was a vast plain without a single person. He didn't know what this fellow was looking at. "This prince wants to ask you, we've already taken down the southern pass for several days, why don't we follow up our victory and take down Shuanglu in one fell swoop? Why are we stationed here? Have you led soldiers in battle before? Do you know the crime of delaying military plans?" Tuobejing asked in an interrogative tone. He had already begun to display the dignity of a prince. Xiao Chu. He had a silver crown on his head, sword-like eyebrows, and bright eyes. His white battle robe fluttered in the wind above the city walls, making him look like a god of war descending from the heavens. Chapter 1594. Ever since Chu Xiaoyang entered the army, almost everyone gave him the title of war god. Although he had only entered the camp for a short time, he had used the drum to angrily kill Wu Qingji to establish his might, shocking the entire army in one fell swoop. Especially when the emperor did not pursue his crimes and even gave him a reward, it made everyone's eyes drop. Tuobejing did not dare act rashly. The princess came to find this king this time to question this king. Chu Xiaoyang slightly curled his lips and gave a cold laugh. "The royal prince is right. This king has never led an army into battle before, and this is the first time I've been the commander-in-chief, but so what? The emperor gave the commander's seal to this king, not the royal prince. How to lead an army is not up to the royal prince to give orders." "You." Tuobejing was so angry he couldn't say anything as he angrily glared at Chu Xiaoyang. Chu Xiaoyang only coldly looked at him before turning around. He continued to look in the direction he was looking at and no longer paid attention to Tuobejing. Tuobejing almost spat out a mouthful of blood. As a prince with many military merits, this was the first time someone had looked down on him like this. Especially Chu Xiaoyang's disdain, it was already written all over his face. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. He stared at the back of Chu Xiaoyang's head, wishing he could smash the other side's head into tofu with a single punch. "Chu Xiaoyang, who do you think you are? You're relying on your pretty face to win my royal father's favor. What military merits do you have? What qualifications do you have to speak to this prince like this? You deliberately delayed taking Shuanglu, delaying the battle. You're clearly leaning towards West Chu. This prince has already seen through your wild ambitions. This prince will write a letter to my royal father and report everything you've done to him. He will definitely remove you from the commander-in-chief position. Just you wait." Tuobejing said through gritted teeth. He turned around and walked down the city walls with large steps. Chu Xiaoyang suddenly turned around and said in a cold voice, "Stop." Tuobejing said with a cold laugh, "What? This prince has seen through your thoughts and you're afraid? Feeling guilty? You're clearly a spy sent by West Chu to my South Yu. You can fool my royal father, but you can't fool this prince." Along the way, this prince had already clearly seen that you were showing mercy to West Chu. You clearly captured their generals, but you didn't kill them and let them all go. Also, after attacking Nanping City, you immediately gave the order not to harm a single citizen in the city. Tell me, what intentions do you have by doing this? Chu Xiaoyang lightly said, You're right, it was this king who let them go and it was this king who gave the order not to harm the citizens of the city. With just these two things, you can prove that this king is a spy. That. Every time I south you army a city, every 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 city is a massacre. Since we have a city, but because but because we has lost. Yes. Ago, every army loyalty to Chu. Doing this, you're clearly making the soldiers wary of you. If you're not a spy, who is? Tuo Beijing shouted loudly. Chapter 1595. Tuo Beijing's face instantly turned red and he jumped up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He pointed at Chu Xiaoyang and shouted, You traitorous spy, you dare mock this prince. This prince will fight it out with you. Chu Xiaoyang's words had stabbed the most painful part of his heart. The South Yu emperor had 5 sons and 1 daughter. He was ranked second, so his status was only below the eldest prince. However, he was given the title of a duke while the eldest and third princes were given the titles of princes. The other 4 princes and 5th princes were also given the title of duke because they were not yet crowned. Tuo Beijing had always been puzzled. Among all the princes, he was one of the best in terms of military achievements and martial arts. Why did his imperial father only confer him the title of duke while his eldest brother and third brother were conferred the title of imperial prince even though they were inferior to him in all aspects? Everyone knew about this matter and all the ministers were discussing it behind his back, using it as a laughing stock, but no one dared to mention it in front of Tuo Beijing. Everyone knew that he had a fiery temper and cared about his face, so no one dared to let him know about it. But there were no walls in this world that didn't have a crack. The criticism of the ministers behind his back still reached Tuo Beijing's ears. He flew into a rage, but there was nothing he could do. However, Chu Xiaoyang was the only one that dared to mention this matter in front of him, so he couldn't help but fly into a rage. He pulled out the saber from his waist and slashed at Chu Xiaoyang's chest. In his rage, he completely ignored the strict rule of not fighting in the army. Royal Prince, are you going to fight with this king? Chu Xiaoyang was not panicked at all. His 2 fingers gently caught the back of the saber and the saber could not move forward at all. Tuo Beijing tried to take it back, but the saber did not move at all. It was like it had taken root in Chu Xiaoyang's hand. Royal Prince, you can't. Royal Prince, please calm down. His personal guards saw this and quickly grabbed him by the waist. They tried to persuade him, Royal Prince, you can't do this. The army has strict rules to not fight in private. Anyone who disobeys will be executed. These Tuo Beijing's personal guards had all appeared on the field before, so they had personally seen how Chu Xiaoyang had cut off Wu Qingji's head with lightning speed. He had lightly jumped off the high platform, his feet not touching the ground, just like a general flying through the air to cut off a person's head. This scene was deeply imprinted in the minds of everyone present, causing them to shudder at the thought of it. They were afraid that Chu Xiaoyang would take out his sword and cut off the royal prince's head in a fit of rage. Because this matter had been started by the royal prince, even if Chu Xiaoyang cut off his head, the emperor would not say anything. Tuo Beijing's body turned cold as he let go of the blade on his waist. He glared at Chu Xiaoyang with his chest heaving up and down, filled with anger. Chapter 1596. After he finished speaking, he left the underground city without even looking back. His white cloak fluttered behind him, making him look like a general. Everyone was shocked by his aura and no one could say anything. Tuo Beijing flew into a rage. If it wasn't for his personal guards holding onto him, he would have charged out to fight Chu Xiaoyang. Royal Prince, please calm your anger. He is King Chu and the Commander-in-Chief. You are only a Vice-General, you can't afford to offend him. A person that looked like a strategist came out and tried to persuade him. Strategist Pang, why are you here? Tuobajing took a few deep breaths and slowly calmed down, but his face was still filled with a fierce expression. He said in a hateful voice, "What a good Chu Xiaoyang. He dares to be a spy, so why would this royal prince be afraid of him? I'll immediately write a letter to royal father. I'll definitely capture this spy and behead him." That strategist Pang quickly said, "Royal Prince, think about it carefully. Actually, what King Chu said is not without reason. Although you have great military merits, great martial arts, and are familiar with the art of war, the emperor has never placed you in an important position. Even when he sent the army to the west, he only made you a vice-general and gave the command of the army to King Chu. This means that in the emperor's heart, the person he trusts more is King Chu. If you write a letter to the emperor now, I'm afraid it will have the opposite effect and make the emperor angry." Tuobajing angrily said, "Could it be that this prince will just let it go like this? I am a dignified prince, being humiliated by a traitor like this. Shoo, royal prince, be quiet. He is now the King Chu that the emperor has personally bestowed upon him and he has military power, so you must be lenient with your words. If you are caught, the one who will suffer is the royal prince." Tuobajing was so angry that he almost spat out blood. He lowered his voice and angrily said, "This prince is clearly royal father's son, but in royal father's eyes, I am not even as good as a traitor that just surrendered. Now this prince is wondering if this Chu Xiaoyang is royal father's son or if this royal prince is." That strategist Pang said, "Royal prince, have you forgotten? The emperor often says that those who win the hearts of the people will win the world. He also says that we should win the world with benevolence, rule the world with virtue, and stabilize the world with propriety. These words show that the emperor does not like killing and does not like massacring cities. Royal Prince, you have never been placed in an important position because of this." Although that King Chu was rude, what he said might be what the emperor is thinking. He released the West Chu captives and gave the order not to harm a single citizen in the city. How do you know that wasn't done by the emperor? Tuobajing immediately stopped struggling and stared blankly at strategist Pang. "You mean that my father doesn't like me because I'm too murderous?" Strategist Pang said, "This is just my conjecture after hearing King Chu's words. But there is some truth to your words. Ever since I asked Royal Father for merit after massacring the city, Royal Father's expression has not been good. Not only did he not reward me, he even reprimanded me a few times. I originally thought that someone was speaking ill of this prince behind his back, but now that I think about it, it turns out to be like this." Tuobajing thought back to his royal father's attitude towards him over the years and couldn't help feeling enlightened. Chapter 1597. Strategist Pang said, "Your Highness' words are reasonable, but if the emperor doesn't like it, then your Highness shouldn't do it anymore. If you lose the emperor's favor, it will only be disadvantageous to you. This King Chu is highly regarded by the emperor and he is the commander of the army, so this subordinate suggests that your Highness doesn't make things difficult for him in the future. As long as you listen to his orders, if there is a mistake in the future, it won't be your fault, it will all be his fault. In front of the emperor, he won't be able to escape his crime. If we can destroy West Chu in one fell swoop, this great merit will not go to your Highness, don't you think so?" It was like the fog in front of Tuoba Zheng's eyes had been lifted and everything became clear. That's right, that's right. It's a good thing you reminded this prince in time, otherwise this prince would have made a big mistake. Alright, this prince will listen to that stinky brat for now. After we destroy West Chu, this prince will slowly settle this debt with him. However, this prince still suspects that this brat has bad intentions. He has clearly taken down Southern Pass City, but he has not made a move and is not going to take Shuanglu. It is clear that he wants to give West Chu a chance to catch their breath. This prince will definitely report this matter to royal father. I think that even if that Chu Xiaoyang had 100 mouths, he wouldn't be able to defend himself. Your Highness, you should think about it carefully. In my opinion, the King Chu not making a move is not giving the enemy a chance to catch their breath, but rather he is planning something. Look at the past 5 days, the King Chu has been climbing the city walls every day and looking in that direction, which is where Shuanglu City is. He has been practicing every day. Perhaps he is waiting for the enemy's reinforcements to arrive and then he can catch them all in one fell swoop. That strategist Pang's eyes turned. He was Tuoba Zheng's military advisor, a resourceful man who had been by Tuoba Zheng's side for 10 years. Tuoba Zheng was valiant, but he was reckless and impulsive. Fortunately, he had been providing advice all these years, which allowed Tuoba Zheng to be invincible in battle. Because of this, Tuoba Zheng had gained Tuoba Zheng's trust. His words had a lot of weight in Tuoba Zheng's heart. Tuoba Zheng suddenly slapped his thigh. It's a good thing you reminded me. That's right, that Chu Xiaoyang betrayed West Chu and should have become the emperor, but now that the emperor has taken his throne, he should be filled with hatred, so he shouldn't be a spy sent by West Chu. No wonder royal father trusts him so much and even gives him such a heavy responsibility. I was too suspicious. Very good, since he isn't a spy, I'll just bear with him for now. The strategist moved beside him and said in a low voice, Your Highness, royal father made him the king and sent him to lead troops to attack West Chu, but made you the vice-general. Do you know why? Tuoba Zheng's eyes widened. He became angry at the mention of this, and he said hatefully, Father must have been deceived by his flowery words. Chapter 1598. Tuoba Zheng only understood half of what he heard. He was only skilled in martial arts and knew very little about military strategy, so he usually listened to Strategist Pang. Strategist Pang, your words are a bit profound. Why do you say that Chu Xiaoyang is the key to opening the West Chu gates? This prince can't see what use he has. He is just a brat still wet behind the ears and has never fought a battle before. He only relied on his familiarity and caught West Chu off guard to successfully take down the southern pass city. What's so great about him? Strategist Pang looked around and pulled Tuoba Zheng to a place where there was no one. Then he whispered, Your Highness, what do you think the emperor has been thinking about all these years? Naturally it's to unify the world. Tuoba Zheng replied without any hesitation. That's right, but unifying the world is very hard. Not to mention East Qin's strength is equal to ours, just West Chu is a fat piece of meat that both East Qin and our emperor want. Whoever can take this fat piece of meat first will have a large increase in strength. But after all these years, although the West Chu emperor is young, he has managed the country well. Although he has a few soldiers and few generals, he has a general that our 3 countries are envious of, Shenfang. As long as Shenfang is here, East Qin can forget about getting any benefits from West Chu. Our emperor has been eyeing West Chu like a tiger watching its prey, but we don't know anything about West Chu at all, so we never dared to send troops. Now that this is a heaven-sent opportunity, no one would have thought that Chu Xiaoyang would defect to our South Yu and even give a heavy gift to our emperor. Once he surrendered, we were like blind people opening their eyes, clearly seeing the situation in West Chu. Tell me, isn't he the key to opening the gates of West Chu? Hearing strategist Pang's words, Tuoba Zheng suddenly slapped his thigh and shouted, That's right, that's right. This prince is really muddle-headed, it's the strategist who can see things clearly. My father made him a king and gave him the power of the army, it was just to use him. Strategist Pang said with a faint smile, That's natural. The emperor has given Chu Xiaoyang great favor, making him a king and giving him the title of commander. He wants to win him over and have him work for our South Yu, using him to destroy West Chu. Does your highness really think that in the emperor's heart, your position can't compare to Chu Xiaoyang who surrendered? Tuoba Zheng's heart was at ease. He raised his head and burst into laughter. His laughter spread far and wide. At the same time, the 3 armies sent by Mo Chuan arrived at Shuanglu. The general leading the troops thought there would be a large battle or that Shuanglu would be lost, but when they arrived at Shuanglu, they saw the West Chu war flag flying in the distance. Moreover, it was calm outside the city, not a single South Vietnamese soldier could be seen. They looked at each other in blank, not daring to believe what they were seeing. This was because the southern pass was only 3 days away from Shuanglu and the southern pass had already been lost for 5 days. According to their estimations, after the South Yu army captured the southern pass, the first thing they would do would be to take Shuanglu. There would be a large battle at Shuanglu city. The 3 armies gathered together to discuss and decided to set up camp in the city first. If they set up camp outside the city and the South Yu army attacked, there would be no barriers in the wilderness. They were few in numbers and would be attacked from all sides, so it would be better to defend the city. Chapter 1599. This news quickly spread to the southern pass city. Chu Xiaoyang stood on the city wall and looked in the direction of Shuanglu city. The corner of his lips slightly curled up. Very good, this king can finally catch a turtle in a jar. He raised his hand. Pass on this king's orders. Everyone is to immediately leave the city and act according to the plan. We will take down Shuanglu in one go. Shuanglu had fallen. The 3 reinforcements and the soldiers in the city had all become South Yu's prisoners. This news was sent from 800 miles to the West Chu capital's Mo Chuan. What? Shuanglu has been lost and the 3 reinforcements this one has sent have all been wiped out. Mo Chuan looked at the report on the table in disbelief. Xiao Si stood on the side and his eyes almost popped out. He stared at the black words on the white paper in a daze. There were still some blood stains on it. It was clear that someone had sent this news to the capital. Chu Xiaoyang, this one has really underestimated you. I never thought that you would bide your time and wait for the 3 reinforcements to arrive. Then you can catch them all in one go. Mo Chuan clenched his fist and slammed it down on the table. Emperor, please calm down. Xiao Si saw the veins on Mo Chuan's forehead pop out and quickly tried to calm him down. He had never seen the emperor this angry before and his heart was filled with anxiety. Only he did not understand the art of war, so he did not know how to help the emperor at all. Only, this one has already sent 3 reinforcements. Adding in the original guards of Shuanglu city, the army is considered strong. Even if we can't defeat Chu Xiaoyang's South Yu army, it should be enough to hold them off for 10-15 days. How could they fall in one day? Little 4, immediately send someone to investigate again. Mo Chuan quickly recovered from his anger. He looked at the report on the table and began to see that something was wrong. Yes, Emperor. Xiao Si quickly left after receiving the order. Mo Chuan's hands were placed on the table. He stared at the large map and his brows deeply knit together. Once Shuanglu was lost, it was equal to opening the gates to West Chu. The South Yu army would charge in like a hot knife through butter and their next target would be Yuezhou city. Yuezhou city was only 800 miles away from the capital. Once Yuezhou was lost, the South Yu army would surround the city and surround the capital. So, he had to defend Yuezhou no matter what. But how would he defend it? Who would he send to meet the Nanyue army? All the ministers in the imperial court were restless and there was no one available. Could it be that he was really going to personally lead the army? If he personally led the army, what if someone in the court rebelled? Wouldn't that be equivalent to a fire in the backyard? Mo Chuan's brows tightly knit together. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Don't stop me, I want to see the Emperor. Suddenly, a young girl's sobbing voice came from outside the imperial study. His Majesty has ordered that no one is allowed to enter, the guard replied. I must see the Emperor, I beg you, let me in to see the Emperor, I have something urgent to tell the Emperor. Mo Chuan looked up in surprise and said in a deep voice, let her in. He could tell that this voice belonged to Xiao Ru. Why would she come to the royal study? Why is he so anxious? Could something have happened to Ning Er? Mo Chuan's heart instantly tightened. The door opened and Xiao Ru charged in while crying. When she saw Mo Chuan, she kneeled down on the ground and cried until she couldn't breathe. Don't cry. Tell me, what happened to Ning Er? Chapter 1600. Emperor, the young miss, she's gone. Quickly go take a look, she's gone. Xiao Ru was crying so hard that she couldn't even speak properly. What did you say? Ning Er's gone. Mo Chuan's body heavily trembled. His first thought was, could it be that Purple Heaven Pavilion's assassins kidnapped her? Yes. Yes, Emperor, this servant has already searched the entire Guan Osprey Palace, but I can't find the young miss. Woo, woo, woo. Not only is the young miss gone, even Qian is gone. Qian also disappeared. Mo Chuan knit his brows, he didn't even think about who Qian was. He didn't care if it was Qian or Wan, in his heart, Chen Ning was the most important. He immediately ordered, someone, send all the imperial guards to search the palace. We must find the Empress' whereabouts. Xiao Ru, stand up, what are you crying for? Your young miss likes to go out, perhaps she went out of the palace, perhaps she went to the Peaceful Life Palace to visit the Empress Dowager, or perhaps she went to the royal garden to enjoy the scenery. How could she suddenly disappear? You little girl, you've scared this one. Mo Chuan quickly calmed down. Thinking of Chen Ning's personality, she must have been bored in the palace these past few days, so she slipped out of the Guan Osprey Palace to relax. No, no. Xiao Ru shook her head like a rattledrum. She cried as she said, the young miss has already disappeared for 3 days. What? 3 days already? Mo Chuan's eyes popped out. He grabbed Xiao Ru's clothes and picked her up from the ground, tell this one everything clearly. Xiao Ru saw his expression that looked like he wanted to eat someone and was instantly scared stiff. She couldn't say a single word. Mo Chuan really wanted to throw this stupid girl out. There was no other way, he could only suppress his anger and let go. He calmly said, Xiao Ru, don't be anxious, speak slowly. Xiao Ru finally said, Emperor, this servant doesn't know what happened. It's just that 3 days ago, the young miss was still fine and was eating Qian's desserts with this servant, but as this servant ate, this servant suddenly felt sleepy and unknowingly fell asleep. When this servant woke up, this servant found that this servant was lying in my room. This servant went to find the young miss and found that the young miss wasn't in the room. This servant couldn't find the young miss, so I went to ask the maids. They told this servant that they hadn't seen the young miss in 3 days. This servant found that this servant had slept for 3 days. This servant found that this servant had slept for 3 days. This servant panicked and went to find Qian and found that Qian had disappeared. Emperor, something must have happened to the young miss, right? There must be some bad people that entered the palace and kidnapped Qian and Qian. Woo, woo, Emperor, you have to save the young miss. If something happened to the young miss, this servant doesn't want to live anymore. Although Xiao Ru's words were incoherent and unclear, Mo Chuan could still analyze it. Something must have happened to Qin Ning and the problem was the desserts they ate 3 days ago. Otherwise Xiao Ru would not have fallen asleep for 3 days for no reason. Could it be that the Purple Heaven Pavilion's assassins had returned and kidnapped Ning Er? But that was impossible. Chapter 1601. Other than this, there was only one possibility. It wasn't that someone had entered the palace to kidnap Qin Ning, rather she left by herself. No, if she left by herself, then why did Qian Qian disappear? Mo Chuan finally remembered who Qian Qian was. It had to be the beautiful chef that Empress Dowager Zhou sent over. Could Ning Er's disappearance be related to Qian Qian? Otherwise, why didn't she disappear earlier or later, but instead disappear after Qian Qian came to the Guanyu Palace? Perhaps all of this was arranged by Empress Dowager Zhou. Mo Chuan's heart filled with fear and his face instantly turned as cold as ice. If this was really arranged by Empress Dowager Zhou, then it was too terrifying. Mother, oh mother, could it be you can't tolerate Ning this much? Must you drive your son's beloved to the last one to die? Emperor, what's wrong? Xiao Ru cried and cried. She felt a large chill come from beside her, making her body shiver. She looked up to see Mo Chuan's extremely ugly expression. Mo Chuan did not say a word, like he did not hear her at all. He turned and walked out. His heart felt like it was on fire. He did not even ride the carriage and directly used his qinggong, heading straight for the Guanyu Palace. Although Xiao Ru's words were very convincing, he still had to personally verify it. When he arrived at the Guanyu Palace, he moved like the wind and quickly circled around. He did not see Qin Ning's figure at all. Not only was there no Qin Ning, even Qian Qian's chef was gone. Mo Chuan did not stop and headed straight for the Peaceful Life Palace. Empress Dowager Zhou had just stood up and was eating breakfast when she suddenly heard Su Jin's surprised and happy voice call out, "Emperor." She was a bit stunned, secretly wondering why he would come at this time. Looking up, she saw Mo Chuan standing at the door. His deep black eyes were looking at her without blinking. "Emperor, are you here to pay respects to this widow? Why are you eating breakfast so early? If you haven't eaten breakfast yet, then eat a bit in Mother's palace." "Su Jin, quickly bring a bowl of dark green rice porridge for the emperor likes to eat this the most." Empress Dowager Zhou revealed a warm smile as she spoke to Mo Chuan with a kind expression. Mo Chuan stood at the door without moving. He looked at Empress Dowager Zhou and the corner of his eyes slightly twitched. "Mother, why are you doing this?" His voice was cold and solemn. Empress Dowager Zhou was a bit stunned and the spoon in her hand stopped in midair. She said in a stunned voice, "Ning Er, what are you saying?" Mo Chuan coldly said, "Empress Dowager Zhou, you Imperial Mother, I really don't understand. Can't you tolerate her that much? Must you take her away from your son's side?" Mo Chuan. He had never heard before. Not only was Empress Dowager Zhou stunned, even Su Jin was stunned. The two of them looked at Mo Chuan with a strange gaze. Su Jin's heart moved and she blurted out, "Emperor, did something happen to the Empress?" Mo Chuan did not even look at her and just looked at Empress Dowager Zhou. Mo Chuan's voice was filled with suppressed anger, "Question her. If I could find her, I wouldn't have come here to find Imperial Mother." Chapter 1602. Mother, why did you let Qian Qian take her away? Where did you take her? You clearly know how important she is in your son's heart. Doing this, are you trying to dig out your son's heart? Why did you do this? Why? Mo Chuan's voice became filled with pain and sorrow. What did you say? Empress Dowager Zhou revealed a look of surprise, but her expression was very calm, without a trace of panic. She asked, "You said Qian Qian took the Empress away. When did this happen? Why did she take the Empress away? Where did she take her? Mo Chuan revealed a look of disappointment in Empress Dowager Zhou's eyes. He tightly closed his lips and did not say a word. Empress Dowager Zhou slowly nodded. Very good, this widow really has a good son. His wife disappeared and he actually came to this widow to ask for her. You suspect that this widow ordered Qian to kidnap your Empress? This is simply ridiculous. But doesn't Mother feel that this matter is too coincidental? You just sent Qian to the Guanyu Palace and Ning disappeared and Qian also disappeared. If it wasn't for you, Qian is just a cook, how could she have this kind of courage? Empress Dowager Zhou gave a cold laugh. That's right, it really is a coincidence. It's so coincidental that you, the Emperor, are actually suspecting your mother. Emperor, you treat that surnamed Chen girl like a treasure, but you can't treat your mother like grass. This widow hates her and doesn't like her, constantly wanting to chase her out of the palace. But if this widow wants to do it, it will be done openly. He would never resort to such sneaky tricks that would make people look down on him. Emperor, this widow never thought that you would actually suspect this widow. This widow really has raised a good son. Her face revealed a sad expression and her tone made Mo Chuan's heart ache hearing this. Most of the suspicion he had towards Empress Dowager Zhou disappeared. Mother, it's not that your son suspects you. Your son just wants to know the truth of the matter. That Xiao Ru personally said that 3 days ago, after she and Ning ate Qian's desserts, they fell into a deep sleep. They slept for 3 days, and when she woke up, she found that Ning and Qian had disappeared. That's why she came to report it to your son. Your son believes that Qian must have done something to their hearts. She made Xiao Ru and Ning faint before taking Ning away. That Qian was sent into the palace by Mother, so if she didn't do this on Mother's orders, then she must have been sent by someone to harm Ning Empress Dowager Zhou revealed a moved expression for the first time. She put down the bowl of porridge in her hand and looked at Mo Chuan as she said, You're saying that the Empress and Qian disappeared 3 days ago. That's right. Your son has been busy these past few days, staying in the royal study and not returning to the Guan Osprey Palace, so I only know of this matter now. Mo Chuan said through gritted teeth. He looked at Empress Dowager Zhou with a pleading gaze. Mother, if this matter was really arranged by you, no matter what your goal is, your son asks you to release Ning and let her return to your son's side, is that all right? His voice was pitiful and helpless, like a child who had lost his support. Su Jin's heart ached as she looked at him. Chapter 1603. Empress Dowager Zhou closed her eyes and revealed a tired look. She waved her hand and said, Su Jin, don't say any more. Nothing you say can dispel the Emperor's suspicions towards this widow. Only by finding the Empress and Qian can this widow's injustice be washed away. She opened her eyes and looked right at Mo Chuan. Emperor, it doesn't matter if you believe it or not. This widow only found out about the Empress' disappearance at this moment. If you insist that this matter was done by this widow, then this widow has nothing to say. That Qian was sent to the palace by Duke Ning to show her respect to this widow. This widow feels that her cooking skills are not bad, so she was sent to the Guanyu Palace, wanting her to take care of your meals. Of course, this widow does have a selfish motive. She is very beautiful, so perhaps you will fall in love with her and drift away from the Empress, but this widow did not order Qian to harm the Empress. This widow's words will end here today. If you still don't believe me, then send a decree to lock this widow in the heavenly prison. Mo Chuan couldn't help calling out, Mother. He looked at Empress Dowager Zhou with a complicated expression. His lips moved, but he didn't say anything. Empress Dowager Zhou shook her head and gave a soft sigh as she said, Chuan, what makes you think that mother is the mastermind behind all of this? Could it be that mother is this unbearable in your heart? You are mother's biological child, there is no one more important than you in mother's heart. Everything mother does is for your own good. Mother does not like Chin Ning because she is not worthy of you at all. But this widow does not deny that she is a good girl. She is smart, beautiful, and talented, and the rarest thing is that she has the same interests as you. If she had never married before, if she wasn't your nephew's princess, then this widow would be very willing to see you find such a satisfactory partner. However, her status as the Ding Yuan princess is a stain that she can never wash away in her life. As long as she stays by your side, you will be laughed at by everyone. But this widow has never thought of making a move against her. She is the person you love the most, so if this widow hurts her, it is equal to hurting you. How could this widow bear to hurt you? This widow is a mother. This widow will not make a move against her. If you still don't believe me, you can ask Eugene. Mo Chuan's heart was filled with pain as he said in a hoarse voice, "Mother, don't say any more. Your son believes mother." He slowly knelt down and fell onto Empress Dowager Zhou's knees. It had been many years since he had done this. At this moment, he felt like he had returned to his childhood. Whenever he was wronged or bullied, he would lie on Empress Dowager Zhou's knees like this, seeking his mother's protection and comfort. Your son believes mother, I really believes you. Mother, this son is wrong. Your son shouldn't have suspected you. You should not blame me. Empress Dowager Zhou's son. Dowager Qin, Dowager Tian, Dowager Mo's face, and he said in Qian Qin Dowager Zhou's in his. And, mother, Dowager, mother, is, Mo Chuan looked up and confidently said, "No, mother. In your son's heart, you are as important as Ning, Chapter 1604. It won't happen. In this world, there is no son that will love his mother like before after marrying a wife. When the little swallow's wings grow, it will leave the old swallow that raised it. Life is like this, so mother does not blame you. Go find your beloved girl. This widow also hopes that she can safely return to your side. Go. Empress Dowager Zhou waved her hand and slowly closed her eyes. Her voice was filled with an indescribable desolation. The tears in Su Jin's eyes unknowingly fell. Only she knew how much bitterness and helplessness Empress Dowager Zhou had hidden in her heart all these years. She really wanted to tell Mo Chuan all of Empress Dowager Zhou's grievances, but it was like something was stuck in her chest. Her throat was choked up and she couldn't say a single word. Mo Chuan looked up at Empress Dowager Zhou. His lips moved, but he couldn't say anything. Empress Dowager Zhou had already stood up and walked into the bedroom on the side without looking back. Her steps were very slow and perhaps it was because of the sadness in her heart, she was staggering as she walked. Mo Chuan looked at Empress Dowager Zhou's back in a daze. That slightly bent back and that white hair, his heart was filled with an indescribable feeling. It was him who had misunderstood his mother, it was him who had hurt his mother's heart. His mind was in chaos. On one hand, he wanted to stay and comfort his mother, but on the other hand, he was filled with worry because of Qin Ning's whereabouts. It was like his heart was being burned in a pan of hot oil. Emperor, there shouldn't be any problems with the Empress Dowager's side. This servant will stay here and take care of the Empress Dowager, you should quickly go find the Empress Dowager. This servant is truly worried for the Empress Dowager, I hope that the Emperor can find the Empress Dowager soon. This servant hopes that the Empress Dowager will be safe. Amitabha, good people will be rewarded. The Empress Dowager is so good, the Buddha will definitely protect her. Su Jin came forward to help Mo Chuan up and said in a soft voice. Mo Chuan nodded, I'll have to trouble Aunt with Mother's side. There is also the medicine that the ancient divine doctor prescribed for Mother, and should remind Mother to take it every day. Su Jin gave a reply, Emperor, be assured, you should quickly go. Mo Chuan looked at Empress Dowager Zhou's bedroom and said in a firm voice, in my heart, Ning is very important, but Mother is also very important. Mother, when your son finds Ning we will definitely be filial to you. We will let Mother personally see that the old swallow has raised the little swallow and that the little swallow will not abandon the old swallow. After he said this, he left the peaceful life palace without even looking back. Although Empress Dowager Zhou didn't give him any news about Qin Ning, it was like a large stone had been placed in Mo Chuan's heart and he became much more relaxed. Teet. What he was most worried about. Teet. Mo Chuan did not believe that there would be someone in the palace who would take Qin Ning away under the eyes of the guards. Even if she was unconscious, it was impossible for anyone to take her out of the palace, unless the guards he sent to the Guan Osprey Palace were all dead people. Not to mention that Mo Chuan did not believe that Qin Ning would fall into someone else's trap. Xiaoru had slept for 3 days after eating Qian Qian's desserts, which meant that her heart had been drugged and Qin Ning had taken the spirit rhinoceros pill personally made by Gu Qingze, so she was immune to all poisons. Chapter 1605. Mo Chuan was not surprised that Qin Ning would leave the palace, but she had left for 3 days. This was a bit unbelievable. Mo Chuan suddenly thought, could she have gone to the Godly Physician Valley to find Gu Qingze? But this thought was immediately rejected by him. That was impossible. If she wanted to go to the Godly Physician Valley, she wouldn't have let Gu Qingze leave by himself. Not to mention when the South Yu army had just arrived and the southern pass had fallen, the pressure on him had increased, so she wouldn't have left his side. Could she have encountered an accident when she left the palace? But if she left the palace, there would be secret guards following her. Now that the secret guards said they didn't see her leave the palace, it meant that she was still in the palace. Mo Chuan thought about it and decided to go to the Guan Osprey Palace. Perhaps he would find some clues there. He suddenly thought of Zhuai Feng at this time. If Zhuai Feng didn't escort Gu Qingze to the Godly Physician Valley, if Zhuai Feng was still here, he would definitely be able to find her whereabouts. When he entered the Guan Osprey Palace gates, he saw Xiaoru holding a letter as she quickly ran over. When she saw him, she kneeled down on the ground. Emperor, this servant has found a letter left by the young miss. Quickly take a look and see what the young miss says. Does she not want this servant anymore? Did she leave by herself? Xiaoru said with a sobbing tone. A letter left by her. Why did you only find out now? Mo Chuan's heart suddenly skipped a beat and a bad feeling filled his heart. He couldn't help looking at Xiaoru. He took the letter and impatiently opened the envelope. Opening the letter, he saw a few words written on it. The marshal has gone to battle. He looked at the words in a daze and couldn't say anything for a while. Xiaoru looked over at the contents of the letter and her face was filled with confusion. She scratched her head and said, "This is the young miss handwriting, but what does it mean? Did the young miss go to the theater? Did she go to the theater to watch the marshal's war play? This daring girl, if this one catches her, I won't let her off easily." Mo Chuan was stunned for a while. He crumpled the paper into a ball and tightly gripped it in his palm, feeling anxious and angry. Xiaoru didn't understand the meaning of these words, but he could clearly see it. That girl had gone to the front lines to fight. It turned out that she wasn't joking when she mentioned that she was going to lead the army into battle. She had thought of doing this long ago, so she tried to test him again and again. After being firmly rejected by him, she actually left without saying goodbye. She was too daring. Mo Chuan really wanted to grab her and teach her a lesson. If he didn't beat her up, then he wouldn't be Mo Chuan. But no matter how angry he was, he couldn't stop her. Although Mo Chuan was angry, his heart was in his throat. She didn't know martial arts and was a girl, leaving the capital city alone to go to the front lines. What was she planning to do? Didn't she know that once the war started, the road would not be peaceful? Roving bandits, and brigands would all take advantage of the chaos. Even if she could make it to the front line safely, against the South U army, even the experienced generals he had dispatched had suffered defeats. What good strategy could a weak woman like her have? This lass had conferred a very high official position for herself. Chapter 1606. Mo Chuan was angry and anxious, it was like 100 claws were scratching his heart. Now that he knew where she was going, how could he stay in the palace? Right now, he only wanted to ride on a fine horse and quickly chase after her out of the palace. He wanted to stop her before she reached the front lines and bring her back safely. Someone come. Quickly, prepare a horse for this one. I want the fastest date red horse. Mo Chuan loudly ordered. While saying this, he quickly walked into the palace. He searched the room and found that the snow silk clothes, the hidden weapon peacock tail, and the strange handgun were all gone. That girl, she really left. Mo Chuan hatefully said, but he slightly relaxed a bit. At least she still had a bit of self-awareness and brought these 3 treasures with her. Even if she didn't know martial arts, with her intelligence, adding in the snow silk cloak that couldn't be broken by swords, her body that was immune to poison, and her mysterious hidden weapons and pistol, as long as she didn't meet a top expert, normal Jianghu people wouldn't be able to touch a single hair on her head. Although he let out a sigh of relief, his heart was still hanging high. It had to be known that she had offended an assassin from the Purple Heaven Pavilion, and the rules of the Purple Heaven Pavilion was that they wouldn't stop until they were dead. If an expert from the Purple Heaven Pavilion came out, how could she fight them? What worried him the most was that she wanted to go to the front lines and use her own strength to turn the tide. This kind of idea was simply whimsical. Did she think she was an immortal? Even if she was an immortal, she wouldn't be able to repel 100,000 South U army by herself. No. He had to stop her. Mo Chuan walked out of the room with large steps. Xiao Ru threw herself at him and hugged his leg. She cried and said, "Emperor, do you know where the young miss is going? Are you going to find the young miss? Can you bring this servant with you? This servant must find the young miss. This servant is worried that something has happened to her. She promised me that she would never leave me again and that she would bring me with her no matter where she goes, but she didn't bring this servant this time. She must be doing something very dangerous and going to a very dangerous place. This servant said that even if I die, this servant will die with the young miss. I begged the emperor to bring this servant with you, all right?" Mo Chuan looked down at her and firmly said, "Relax, no matter where she goes, no matter how dangerous that place is, I will definitely bring her back safely." His right foot moved and he left Xiao Ru's hand. Then he walked out of the palace gates with large steps, disappearing in front of Xiao Ru in the blink of an eye. Xiao Ru crawled up from the ground and chased after him while crying. When she reached the gates, she saw Mo Chuan's figure. Mo Chuan mounted the date red horse and sped off, heading straight for the palace gates. In his haste, he didn't even have time to change his clothes. He was still wearing that dazzling dragon robe. Along the way, when everyone saw the figure on the horse, they all hurriedly bowed down and knelt on the ground, repeatedly saying, "Long live your majesty." Mo Chuan knit his brows and stopped his horse, not moving forward. No, he couldn't leave the palace like this. He couldn't leave the palace like this. The war between the two countries had just begun and the South U army was very powerful. They had taken down the southern pass and Shuanglu towns in one fell swoop, and they had also defeated the 3 armies he had sent. It could be said that their morale was high. The South Yu army had won their first battle and the West Chu army had suffered 2 consecutive defeats. Their morale was low and the ministers were all panicking. Chapter 1607. From the day the southern pass was lost, there were many ministers that came to advise Imo Chuan. They advised him to give Chu Xiaoyang a large benefit, allowing him to surrender to West Chu. There were also many people that suggested ceding territory and submitting to South Yu. Even if it was like losing to East Qin in the past, paying tribute every year was better than losing their country. Even if Imo Chuan didn't hear these words 10 times a day, he still heard them 8 times a day. His heart was filled with anger as he angrily scolded the people that came to advise him. But there was still an endless stream of people coming to advise him. Imo Chuan knew what the ministers were afraid of. They were afraid of Chu Xiaoyang, afraid of the South Yu army of 100,000. They were afraid that they would fall into the hands of the South Yu people, losing their positions and lives. But the ministers were afraid, but he was not. Everyone could surrender, but he could not surrender. In this kind of crisis, if he left the capital city, it would cause a large wave in the court. Perhaps everyone would think that he ran away because he was afraid. Those people with ulterior motives could take advantage of the chaos. When the time came, there would be internal and external troubles. West Chu would not have a peaceful day. He couldn't leave. Imo Chuan tightly gritted his teeth as his heart burned. He stood on his horse and looked in the direction of Shuanglu. He gritted his teeth and said, Ning, no matter what, you have to take care of yourself. If you dare come back with a single hair missing, I won't forgive you. He turned his horse around and slowly headed to the royal study. Only his heart was heavy, like with every step he took, he was getting further away from Qin Ning. He suddenly thought of Chu Xiaobai. If Xiaobai was still here, he would definitely be able to bring Qin Ning back safely. Xiaobai, where did you go? Imo Chuan's guess was not wrong. Qin Ning was not kidnapped, rather she had snuck out of the palace. She had already made up her mind to go to the front lines to help, but after several probing attempts, she was mercilessly rejected by Imo Chuan. Since it was like this, she could only hide from everyone and sneak away. It just so happened that Imo Chuan had been waiting in the royal study for the past few days, giving her a good chance to sneak away. She just needed to avoid the secret guards that Imo Chuan had arranged to protect her. She knew that this trip was very dangerous, so she couldn't bring Xiao Ru along no matter what. So she put a bit of knockout medicine in the desserts. How could Xiao Ru know that she was eating happily and unknowingly fell asleep? She returned to her room and changed into the eunuch clothes she had prepared. Then she sent a message to Imo Chuan and left the palace without anyone knowing. The hidden guards only saw a little eunuch come out of the Empress bedroom, but they didn't care at all. No one would have thought that this little eunuch would be the disguised Qin Ning. In order to avoid suspicion, Qin Ning left the palace empty-handed. She came to the market and bought a horse and some men's clothes. Then she found an inn to change into. By the time she came out of the inn, she had changed from a little eunuch to an ordinary-looking young man. She was wearing the human skin mask she stole from Imo Chuan, only revealing a pair of crystal-clear eyes. There was no expression on her face, so no one would look at this normal face more than once. This was the effect she wanted. The less attention she attracted, the safer she would be on her journey. Chapter 1608. Qin Ning had seen Imo Chuan's map before, so her destination was very clear. Whipping her horse, she ran over 100 miles in a single breath. She felt her mouth was dry and her stomach was filled with hunger. She saw a mountain stream slowly flowing nearby, so she jumped off the horse and led the horse to the stream. She let the horse eat grass and drink water while she sat on a large rock by the stream. She felt her face was covered in sweat, so she took off her mask and washed her face. Then she began to eat her rations in the stream. After eating 2 mouthfuls of steamed buns, her ears suddenly moved. She heard the sound of a horse in the distance and she couldn't help turning around. He saw a horse galloping over from afar. As it neared, he saw a beautiful girl in plain clothes sitting on the back of the horse. Her long black hair fluttered in the wind like a waterfall. Her face was as charming as a flower, and her eyebrows and eyes were like a painting. Chen Ning's hand that was holding the steamed buns suddenly stopped in midair as she looked at the girl in a daze. Chen. Why is she here? Didn't she also eat the desserts I drugged? The beautiful girl on the back of the horse was the cross-dressing thousand-faced young master. He had already noticed that Chen Ning had drugged his desserts. It had to be known that he was the young master of the Purple Heaven Pavilion, so his assassination methods were top-notch. Although he had lost his martial arts, his eyesight was still there. Adding in the fact that he had been paying attention to Chen Ning's every move, he had noticed something strange with a single glance. But he did not make a sound. He was secretly thinking that the other party had discovered his weakness and recognized his identity, so she used this kind of method to deal with him. He did not put Chen Ning's drugging methods in his eyes at all. Just a sniff was enough to tell that this was the most common drug used in the Jianghu. The amount was not large, it could only make a normal person sleep for 3 to 5 days. But for someone like him who had dealt with all kinds of poison since he was a child, it was the same as eating pepper, it had no use at all. He ate a few pieces of the desserts and then saw Xiao Ru's eyelids slowly close as she fell asleep on the table. He also closed his eyes and pretended to fall asleep from the drug. He wanted to see what kind of tricks this stinky girl wanted to play. If she wanted to use this opportunity to kill him, then she was gravely mistaken. Although he did not have any martial arts, he still had his fists and legs. Dealing with a weak little girl like her was not a problem at all. As long as she dared to make a move, he would let her know just how strong he was. Who would have thought that after quietly waiting for a while, he discovered that she did not pay attention to him at all. Instead, she hurriedly entered the room, and in a short while, she had changed into a little eunuch's attire and came out. The thousand-faced young master was so surprised that he opened his eyes to a slit and secretly sized her up. He couldn't figure out what trick she was playing. Could it be that she wanted to disguise herself as a eunuch to kill him? Then he found that Chen Ning did not even look at him. She just walked to Xiao Ru's side and gently looked at her. Then she softly said, "Good Xiao Ru, wait for me here. I'll be back." Xiao Ru up and walked out. Xiao picked up her and walked. And she walked out. You Xiao's eyes and walked out. So he quietly stood up and looked out the window. He saw Chen Ning send Xiao Ru back to her room and then put on the little eunuch's clothes as she walked out of the palace gates. The thousand-faced young master's eyes lit up and he couldn't help curling his lips into a smile. The thousand-faced young master's eyes lit up and he couldn't help but smile. Chapter 16:10. She stared at Qian and softly said, "I can't say that I'm good or bad to you. You were sent to the Guan Osprey Palace by the Empress Dowager, so naturally I won't mistreat you. You should return to the palace. I need to do something dangerous and it's not convenient to bring a young girl like you along." Qian immediately looked up with a determined expression. She patted her chest again and quickly made a hand gesture. "The more dangerous it is, the more you want to be with me. You say you'll help me, opening a path in the mountains and building a bridge in the rivers. You say you'll do many things and won't become a burden to me. You say that if I don't bring you along, you'll die here." Her hand gesture was very complicated. Chen Ning looked at it while slowly saying this. Qian forcefully nodded. No, Qian, I won't bring you along. If you want to die, then do as you please. Chen Ning's face turned serious as she coldly said this. There was not a trace of emotion in her voice. She did not believe that this beautiful girl would really die. Who knew why she wanted to follow her, so she wouldn't bring her along no matter what. Qian's eyes filled with tears. She was like a pear blossom in the rain, looking very pitiful. It was enough to move the heart of any man with a heart of stone. But Chen Ning was not moved at all. She put away the rations and jumped onto the back of the horse. She did not even look at Qian as she continued on her way. She did not believe that Qian would still be so thick-skinned to chase after her cold words. Sure enough, she did not hear the horse's hooves behind her, but she heard a pudong sound. It was the sound of a heavy object falling into the water. Water splashed everywhere and there were several drops that fell on the back of her neck, feeling cold to the bone. This is bad. She wouldn't have drowned, right? Chen Ning suddenly turned around and saw that Qian's figure had already disappeared from the shore. There was only the horse she rode leisurely eating grass on the side. As the mountain stream flowed down, there was a plain-clothed girl floating in the water. It was Qian. Her long black hair floated on the water like a glossy black satin. In the blink of an eye, she had already been washed far away by the current. The snow-white clothes on her body mixed with the water as she was carried far away by the current. Chen Ning gave a cry of surprise. She jumped off the horse and jumped into the water without any hesitation. Never had she imagined that Qian would actually have such a fiery temper and seek death at the slightest disagreement. She's simply too willful. She was skilled in the water. Although the mountain stream was turbulent, she could still swim. She paddled with her arms and swam far away. Finally, she caught a piece of Qian's sleeve. She pulled it tightly and pulled Qian to her side. With great difficulty, she pulled Qian to the shore and placed her on a big rock. She let Qian slowly spit out the water in her stomach while she leaned on the side to catch her breath. Swimming in the mountain stream had consumed a lot of her energy. Woo! The thousand-faced young master opened his mouth and began to spit out water. After spitting it out for a while, he finally opened his eyes in a daze. He looked at Chen Ning with a grateful expression on his face. Qian said. Qian she he she. Qian t a t tif Qian I q t b. The thousand-faced young master nodded his head forcefully. The expression on his face was even more resolute. Chapter 1611. The thousand-faced young master was filled with joy. Although his body was weak, he still struggled to stand up and kowtow to Chen Ning. Stand up, you're not allowed to kowtow to me in the future. We're leaving the palace in plain clothes. I'm not the Empress and you're not a servant, do you understand? Chen Ning helped him up. The thousand-faced young master nodded again as his eyes filled with gratitude. Chen Ning saw that their clothes were soaked, so she helped Qian over to where the horses were. She took out 2 sets of clothes from the bag on the horse's back, a set of men's clothes and a set of women's clothes. She had bought these clothes from a clothing store and the material was very normal. It was clothes that normal people would wear. We need to hurry, so we can't be too ostentatious. If you follow me, you have to be prepared to suffer. You can change into these coarse clothes first. She gave one of the women's clothes to the thousand-faced young master and kept the men's clothes for herself. Chen Ning first changed into the men's clothes behind the rock and put on the human skin mask. This way, no one would be able to recognize her. The thousand-faced young master saw her come out from behind the large rock and looked like he was shocked. He bit his lips and made a gesture to her. "That's right, it's me. I'm wearing a mask." Chen-Ning nodded and said, "Go change behind the rock, I'll help you keep a lookout." The thousand-faced young master's face turned slightly red and he made another gesture. Chen-Ning asked in a strange voice, "You said you're hungry and want to eat steamed buns?" The thousand-faced young master nodded. "All right, I just happen to have some steamed buns here. If you don't mind, you can eat them." Chen-Ning took out 2 dry steamed buns and gave them to him. The thousand-faced young master received it like it was a treasure. He took the women's clothes and walked behind the rock. When he came out after changing his clothes, the coarse clothes did not affect his beauty at all. Instead, it made him look even more gentle. "Qian, are you full?" The thousand-faced young master quickly nodded. Chen-Ning revealed a faint smile and said, "I can't tell that you're so weak, but your appetite is not small. You actually ate 2 large steamed buns at once. If you're not full, there are still steamed buns here." The thousand-faced young master wanted to shake his head, but who would have thought that his stomach would suddenly growl. Goo-loo-loo, goo-loo-loo. His lie had been exposed on the spot. His face turned red to his ears and he revealed an extremely embarrassed expression. He had not eaten the 2 steamed buns that Chen-Ning had given him and they were currently tied to his chest. As for the steamed bun in front of his chest, it had already been soaked in the stream and he had thrown it into a crack in the rock in disgust. "If you're not full, then keep eating. These steamed buns aren't anything good. Here, I'll give you." Chen gave him another large steamed bun with a smile. The thousand-faced young master's face turned red as he took the steamed bun and started to chomp down on it. Who knew that the steamed bun was too dry and he ate too quickly? Instantly, he choked on it and started coughing. "Eat slowly, there's no need to rush. Come, drink some water." Chen-Ning placed a water bag in his hand. He drank a few mouthfuls of water before he managed to swallow the steamed bun that was stuck in his throat. He was so embarrassed that he wanted to dig a hole in the ground. Chen-Ning. With. The dignified young master of the Purple Heaven Pavilion actually gluttonously ate a steamed bun and almost choked to death. If this were to spread to the ears of his subordinates, how would he still have the face to show his face? Chapter 1612. The thousand-faced young master pointed to the sky and pointed to the ground, saying that he would not regret it. Of course he would not regret it. As long as he followed this stinky girl, he would find a chance to make his move sooner or later. She was his target and his prey, how could he regret it? The one who would regret it would only be her. "All right, then let's be on our way." Chen-Ning smiled as she jumped onto the horse. The thousand-faced young master also jumped onto the horse and the 2 of them walked one in front and one behind. He was very smart, not asking where Chen-Ning was going because asking too much would only make her suspicious. Anyways, no matter where she went, he would follow. Chen-Ning turned around on the horse and looked over the thousand-faced young master several times. Her thoughtful eyes made the thousand-faced young master's heart filled with panic, thinking that she couldn't have seen through him, right? Could it be that he did not tie his steamed bun properly and it was crooked? He looked down at his chest and saw that it was perfectly fine. It was not crooked or crooked. He looked up and looked at Chen-Ning with a questioning gaze. "Qian, you are truly beautiful. Even a simple dress cannot hide your beauty," Chen-Ning said with a smile. The thousand-faced young master's face turned red and he made a few gestures, meaning that he was ugly and that the Empress was the true beauty. Chen-Ning said with a smile, Qian, did you forget what I said again? We are currently dressed like normal people, so you can't call me the Empress anymore. It's a good thing that you can't speak and there are no outsiders around, so we didn't get exposed. The thousand-faced young master quickly made gestures in fear, meaning that he knew he was wrong. He had accidentally made a mistake and he would never do it again. Chen Ning said with a smile, Qian, we're traveling together and I'm a woman dressed as a man, so outsiders will think that we're a man and a woman. You're so beautiful and I'm so ordinary, I'm afraid people will think that I'm a human trafficker. It's easy to cause misunderstandings and trouble, but I've thought of a good idea. What good idea? The thousand-faced young master's eyes slightly opened wide as he looked at Chen Ning. Chen Ning happily said, how about this, why don't we pretend to be brother and sister and call each other brother and sister in the future? This way people won't be suspicious. You can call me Big Brother in the future, what do you think? What? Pretend to be brother and sister. And she wanted him to call her Big Brother. The thousand-faced young master's eyes opened wide in shock, suspecting that there was something wrong with his ears. This was too ridiculous. Between the two of them, who was the man and who was the woman? He was clearly a man, and she was a woman. In terms of age, she was still wet behind the ears, and he was several years older than her. She should be calling him Big Brother. Pay! What qualifications did she have to call him Big Brother? She wasn't even qualified to be his little brother. If they were in the Purple Heaven Pavilion, he wouldn't even be able to see her from the corner of his eyes. What, Qian, you're not willing? Chen Ning saw that the thousand-faced young master didn't reply for a long time and had a strange expression on his face, so she asked. Qian. The thousand-faced young master nodded repeatedly and made a shy expression. He lowered his head slightly and called out, Big Brother, in sign language. Calling him Big Brother was fine. Anyway, no matter what he was called, he would not lose a piece of flesh. Moreover, he was now disguised as a woman. No one would recognize that he was the fearsome young master thousand faces in the pugilistic world. Chapter 16:13. Chen Ning rubbed her chin like a man. Her eyes turned into crescents as she smiled, but no one could see the expression on her face with the human skin mask. I never thought that I, Chen Ning, would receive a beautiful little sister today. Since you call me Big Brother, I can't let you call me that for nothing, so I have to give you a present. But I came out of the palace in a hurry, so I didn't bring anything valuable. What should I do? The thousand-faced young master quickly made a few gestures, indicating that he did not want a present. As long as he could stay by her side, it would be the best present for him. Present? He did not care about it. Thinking about the purple cloud palace of the thousand-faced young master, there were all kinds of treasures in the world. There were even more treasures than the palace. He was very skilled in sign language, and when he spoke, he was very sweet and honeyed. Chen Ning shook her head and said, Not good, not good. If I don't give this good little sister a present, wouldn't I be letting you call me Big Brother for nothing? What should I give you? I got it. Her eyes fell onto a peach tree to the side. At this time, the peach blossoms had all fallen and there were green peaches growing on the tree. She pulled out a dagger from her waist and swung it down. A peach branch fell from her hand and fell into her chest. There was even a small peach on it. The thousand-faced young master looked at her suspiciously and gave a cold laugh in his heart. She wouldn't give this broken peach to him as a present, right? Chen Ning stopped the horse and used the dagger to cut off the rough skin on the peach branch. She began to carefully carve it. After a while, a smooth peachwood hairpin appeared in her hand. Here, this is for you. I hope you like it. She handed the hairpin in her hand to Qian. Thank you, Big Brother. The thousand-faced young master made a gesture and took the hairpin. His face revealed a surprised and happy expression, but his heart was coldly laughing. What broken wooden hairpin? She actually dared to take it out. But when he looked down, he saw that this hairpin was very beautifully carved. The entire hairpin was smooth and the head of the hairpin was carved into a cloud, with beautiful patterns. Although the material was not worth much, the carving was very good. Moreover, the hairpin was very smooth, so it could be seen that she had put a lot of thought into it. He never thought that this stinky girl would treat him this well. It seemed like he had not revealed any flaws for her to find out. The thousand-faced young master couldn't help feeling proud. He placed the peachwood hairpin in his hair and revealed a sweet smile to Chen Ning. He was in a good mood, and this smile made him radiant. He was more beautiful than a flower. No matter who saw him, they would never think that such a beautiful woman was actually a man. Chan, you look really good when you smile. Although Chen Ning was a girl, she was still shocked by his smile, but you can't smile too much. If you keep smiling like this, I'm afraid all the men will be enchanted by you. If they all follow behind our horses, but I'll have to worry about it. The thousand-faced young master embarrassedly withdrew his smile and looked at Chen Ning with a questioning gaze. Worried? What was she worried about? Chen Ning smiled and said, if they all propose to you, wouldn't this big brother have to worry about who to marry you to? You are so beautiful and so good, I must help you choose the best man in the world to be your husband. Only then can I not let down your beauty and your pair of skillful hands. Chapter 16:14. He put on a serious face and did not reveal a trace of a smile. He made a very serious gesture, indicating that he would stay by her side for the rest of his life, not marrying anyone. Chen Ning smiled as she shook the horse's reins and continued to move forward. She said, that won't do. You're so beautiful, if you don't marry someone, wouldn't you be letting down the good looks that the heavens have given you? But this matter is not urgent. Once we're done, I'll help you deal with it when we return to the palace. The thousand-faced young master shyly lowered his head and urged his horse to follow behind Chen Ning. His eyes flashed with a cold light. After returning to the palace, I'm afraid you won't be able to return even if you go with your life. The two horses galloped forward one behind the other. Chen Ning did not suspect him at all. She kept her back to him and did not seem to be on guard at all. She was wearing men's clothing and the way she rode the horse was very vigorous. It was impossible to tell that she was a weak and delicate girl. The thousand-faced young master admired her riding skills while revealing a faint smile on his face. Because as long as he was happy, the current Chen Ning would already be a dead person. Now was a very good opportunity. The two of them were very close to each other. The back of her head, neck, and waist were all exposed in front of him. He could hit wherever he wanted. He used one hand to control the reins and the other hand slowly reached into his chest. He felt a hidden weapon that he had never used before. This hidden weapon was placed in a small bamboo tube. It was small and convenient, very inconspicuous. But it had a very nice name. It was called Heavenly Maiden Scattering Flowers. This Heavenly Maiden Scattering Flowers was the newest hidden weapon developed by their Purple Cloud Pavilion. No one had ever used it in the Jianghu before and no one knew of its name. It was personally designed and made by the Purple Cloud Pavilion master, spending an entire 3 years to successfully develop it. It was very powerful, but the method to make it was very complicated. With the Purple Cloud Pavilion master's abilities, he could only make one. Now this secret weapon was hidden in his chest. As long as he took it out and gently pressed the switch on the target in front of him, Chen Ning would immediately become a dead person. No one could dodge an attack from the Heavenly Maiden Scattering Flowers. He had personally seen the might of the Heavenly Maiden Scattering Flowers when the Pavilion Master tested it. It was not something that a human could block. Even the gods in the heavens could not do it. His fingers gently stroked the smooth bamboo tube twice, and then quietly took it out again, his hands empty. Now was not the time to use the heavenly maiden scattering flowers. Especially of this great hidden weapon against a girl who did not know martial arts, it was like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife. He was not anxious at all. There would still be opportunities in the future. Moreover, letting her die under the hidden weapon of the heavenly maiden scattering flowers was simply too kind of her. He would have slowly. The smile on the corner of the thousand-faced young master's mouth grew bigger and bigger because he had already thought of a very interesting way to play, and he could not wait to play it. Chen Ning and the thousand-faced young master rushed into a small city before the city gates closed and found an inn to stay in. Seeing Chen Ning come in, he ignored her and said, "This guest, are you staying here?" Chapter 16:15. He was not the only one with this expression. All the guests eating in the main hall of the inn all had stunned expressions. Chen Ning was not surprised by their expressions at all. This was because Qian was right behind her. When the men saw Qian, they all had the same expression. "Shopkeeper, give me 2 rooms. My little sister and I will each have a room." Chen Ning forcefully slammed the table and the shopkeeper came back to his senses, but he was still unwilling to look away from the thousand-faced young master's face. "Yes, yes, yes," he replied, but he was still looking at the thousand-faced young master with an infatuated expression. The thousand-faced young master was stared at by a large group of men and his face turned red. He lowered his head and revealed a shy appearance, but his heart wished he could dig out these men's eyes and feed them to the wild dogs. Damn it! Did he go crazy or did he take the wrong medicine? He actually agreed to the Zhao Rong princess' ridiculous suggestion and disguised himself as a woman. "Shopkeeper, although my little sister is pretty, she is still an unmarried girl. You are already over 50 years old and staring at my little sister like this. Isn't that a bit rude? Aren't you afraid that your wife will be jealous?" Chen Ning's 2 fingers tapped on the counter, letting out a clear tapping sound. Instantly, everyone in the hall looked over at the shopkeeper and there was a burst of laughter mixed in. The shopkeeper's face turned red and he quickly looked away. He lowered his head and coughed twice, covering up the awkwardness on his face. Guest must be joking. This is the key to the upper room, it's upstairs. Guest, please. He personally led Chen Ning and the thousand-faced young master upstairs. Qian, you can stay in this room, I'll stay next to you. If there's anything, just call Big Brother. Rest early, we still have to leave tomorrow morning. Chen Ning pointed at one of the upper rooms and said. The thousand-faced young master looked up at her and made a gesture. His meaning was, "Big brother, aren't you hungry?" Chen Ning was suddenly enlightened. She remembered that she had been on the road for an entire day and had only eaten 2 steamed buns, so she was naturally hungry. "Shopkeeper, bring us a few of your specialty dishes and a pot of fragrant tea. The sooner the better." The shopkeeper was currently looking at the thousand-faced young master. His eyes were staring at his orchid-like fingers in a daze. Hearing Chen Ning's words, he quickly replied, "Yes, yes, yes, there are good dishes. 2 guests, please wait a moment, this old man will immediately send them over." The thousand-faced young master rolled his eyes and shook his head. He made a few more gestures. The shopkeeper suddenly realized that the beauty in front of him that was like a fairy was actually mute and couldn't speak. He gave a regretful sigh, but he couldn't understand what the thousand-faced young master was doing, so he looked at Chen Ning. Chen Ning said in a surprised voice, "You said you don't want the restaurant's dishes, you want to cook." The thousand-faced young master nodded. Qian, we've been on the road for an entire day, you must be very tired. It will be very hard for you to cook, so how about we make do with a meal?" The thousand-faced young master forcefully shook his head and made a few gestures. He meant that he was not afraid of hard work and was not tired at all. Moreover, he had said that he would take care of her, so he had to let her eat delicious food. Finally, he made a few gestures. You don't want me to cook, is it because you think the food I make tastes bad? You don't want to eat it? Chapter 16:16. That delicate and pitiful appearance made the shopkeeper's old heart beat faster and his mouth go dry. He felt that as long as this beauty didn't cry, he would be willing to die for her. Miss, don't cry, don't cry. What do you want? As long as you say it, even if it's the stars in the sky, I'll pluck them for you. He blurted out, but then he realized that this beauty was mute. He quickly looked at Chen Ning. This little brother, does your little sister want to cook? This is very easy, we can lend our kitchen to her. She can use it however she wants. He generously said. The thousand-faced young master revealed a happy expression as he made a gesture of thanks to the shopkeeper. All right, if you like it, then go make it. After eating the dishes you made, the other dishes are a bit hard to swallow. Chen Ning said with a smile. Thus, the thousand-faced young master happily followed the shopkeeper downstairs. Not long after, waves of fragrance began to drift out of the inn. This fragrance made the guests in the inn unable to sit still. They all used their noses to take a deep breath and swallowed large mouthfuls of saliva at the same time. There were even some people who began to look in the direction of the kitchen with drooling looks on their faces. How fragrant! How fragrant! Waiter, your inn actually has this kind of good chef that can make such good dishes. Quickly bring the dishes for this young master. This fragrance is already so tempting, the taste of the dishes must not be bad. You bastard, you clearly have a good chef, but you're giving this young master horse food that tastes like rancid water. Do you still want to keep this in? Some people smelled the fragrance and looked at the food in front of them. They felt that it was bland and hard to swallow. They were filled with anger and directly threw the plate at the waiter. The waiter smiled apologetically and said, I'm really sorry, dear customers. The one cooking is not the chef of this restaurant, but a girl who lives in this restaurant. She borrowed the kitchen of this restaurant to cook, and the dishes she makes are not for sale. Please forgive us. What? It's a guest girl. Could it be the fairy-like girl who came upstairs just now? Someone immediately asked with wide eyes. That's right, it's that girl. The waiter said with a nod. All the guests began to discuss this. I never thought that not only would that girl be beautiful, she would also have such good cooking skills. I really don't know who has the fortune to marry such a beautiful girl. Stop dreaming, you favous-headed man. That girl looks like a fairy. She would marry anyone but you, favous-headed Asan. So what if I'm a bastard? If that girl doesn't like me, does that mean she likes you? Humph. My family is full of money. As long as I take out the shining silver, I don't believe that this beautiful lady won't be tempted. Look at her, she's dressed so shabbily and she even has a wooden hairpin on her head. She's as poor as a grandmother. Waiter, come here and tell that fairy beauty that I, your master, have taken a fancy to her and want her to be my 13th concubine. Ask her to name a price. As long as she can name a price, your master, will be able to pay for it. However many gold ingots she wants, I, your master, will give her as many as she wants. Take this gold ingot and give it to her to buy the dishes she just cooked. 1 gold ingot for 1 dish, I don't believe I can't eat the dishes made by this fairy-like girl. Chapter 16:17. Everyone's eyes lit up as they stared right at the ingot. Even the attendant was greatly shocked, and he was extremely astounded in his heart. My God! This ingot was worth 50 silver coins, which was equal to 1,000 silver coins. This rich old master actually said that he could get as much as he wanted, and he even said that he could buy a dish with one ingot. He was truly too rich. The waiter held the gold ingot like he was holding a golden phoenix. He ran to the kitchen and repeated the middle-aged merchant's words word for word. After he finished, he added, "Miss, this is a good thing that fell from the sky, others can't even beg for it. That official Lu often comes here to do business, it can be said that his family is very wealthy. Miss, you really met a noble person when you go out. If you really marry official Lu and become his 13th concubine, you will be able to wear gold and silver for the rest of your life, enjoying endless glory and wealth." He placed the ingot in front of the thousand-faced young master with a face filled with envy. The thousand-faced young master did not even look at the ingot. He knit his brows and revealed a look of disgust. He gave a cold laugh in his heart. Where did this stinky bug come from, actually wanting to use gold and silver to smash him? Would he even put this kind of stinky thing in his eyes? The waiter immediately said, "Miss, do you think the money is too little?" Official Lu said that this ingot of gold will only buy a dish from this miss. "Miss, even if you don't like official Lu, you can still sell a dish to him. This ingot of gold is worth 1,000 silver coins. Even if this little one were to work as a waiter for a lifetime, I wouldn't be able to earn 1,000 silver coins." The thousand-faced young master almost smashed the dish in his hand onto the head of this talkative waiter. He forcefully glared at the other side. Thinking of Chen Ning upstairs, he suppressed his anger and did not explode, but he was so angry that his chest was heaving up and down. The waiter was stunned. He stared at the two buns tied to his chest, not moving his eyes at all. "What are you looking at? If you keep looking, I'll dig out your eyes." The thousand-faced young master angrily cursed in his heart. He really wanted to throw out a hidden weapon and turn all these men into blind men. With a thought, his right hand reached into his chest and took out a small bottle. He sprinkled some powder on the dish that had just been taken out and gave it to the waiter, taking the ingot of gold. Humph, he wanted to eat his own cooking. All right, then he would let that blind man have a taste of his power. "Miss, you agree to sell this dish to Lu official?" The waiter came back to his senses and said in a surprised and happy voice. The thousand-faced young master nodded and impatiently pointed out, indicating for the waiter to leave. Because of this disgusting matter, he lost the good mood to cook. The waiter brought the dish over to Lu official Lu's table. This time, everyone's attention was attracted by this dish, and they all looked at Lu Yuanwei with envy. There were also people who felt that he was really stupid. He actually spent a gold ingot to buy a dish. If this wasn't being stupid, then what was? Ha ha, I thought it was some amazing dish, but it's just a plate of tofu. I was wondering what kind of amazing dish it was. It's just a plate of tofu. You didn't see wrong, it really is tofu. There's no mistake, it really is tofu. If you don't believe me, go and see for yourself. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.